Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Now, George Stockton came on the same plane or group of planes, the same two planes that you did.
Alan, you were CEO of 351, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yes. Okay, I was 352.
355.
Okay, so that we must have been on the same plane.
Oh, you had McIntosh and England and Pegram and a bunch of those guys. Yeah,
That's right.
and you were you at Hiep with them when the B team moved there?
Yes, we were at Hiep, and let's see, we went there in April, I believe, 66.
Yeah,
and
66.
set up at the sugar mill. Set up at the sugar mill, and then in November, Pegram and I were fired.
Ah.
we were relieved, and yeah, we were sent packing, and it was because we had reached the end of our rope on the corruption by the LLDB camp commander.
Yes.
And had stopped giving him money for the daily ration allowance.
Yes.
And this was Pegram's idea. Pegram, the team sergeant, and I tried to reason with and jawbone the lieutenant who was the LLDB commander. Nothing was working, and he was just ripping us off much too much. So I said to Pegram, I said, Top, what should we do? What do you think we should do? And he said, well, just stop giving him money. And I said, if we do that, the troops won't eat, they'll mutiny, nobody will go on our operations, it'll just be a big mess. And he said, well, do you have any better ideas? And no, I didn't. So I stopped giving the guy money, and he raised a stink and complained. He had some sort of political, he was a general's son.
Yes.
And the next thing I knew, after a few days of that, by the way, the troops understood what was going on, the strike force, and they continued to go on operations, no problem. But a few days later, we got the word from the C team that we had been fired and were sent packing. So I said to Pegram, I said, what do we do now? And he said, in effect, he said, stick with me, kid. So so we went off to bigger and better things. And unfortunately, he was killed 23rd of August, 68, in the big fiasco.
Yeah.
Marble Mountain, yeah. But
well, we had 352 had a lot of the problems with that LLDB commander because whenever we'd have we were paying the troops, they'd come through the pay line, and we were noticing that about 2/3 or a third of them anyway were coming through twice. Yeah. And we said, this is not right. Well, that LLDB commander, he said, no way this can happen. We just, so he said, I'm going to stand next to the pay line and make sure it doesn't happen. Well, of course, he's getting the kickback. These guys are coming through twice, and he gets the money that they were being paid. So we took a Polaroid camera and we set it, and we took every CIDG soldier that came through. We had pictures of them. And if you didn't match the picture, we didn't pay them. Well, the LLDB commander raised a big stink. And Captain Phillips at the time, Billy Jack Phillips was a A-team commander. He got in a lot of trouble. He didn't get fired, but we finally, it finally came down from the C team and says, go ahead and pay him. It's just a drop in the bucket. And Colonel Oakes from the B team, he raised a big stink and said, "Bullshit! We're not going to pay him. We're not going to bow down to this LLDB commander." And the CT or the CIDG wouldn't go on operation with us. So Colonel Oakes had a all-American operation that went up north using all the B team members, A-351 and A-352, and we went on an operation north of Hiep, and it was all American. There were a couple of I think CID or LLDB sergeants that went with us, but it turned out that LLDB commander, he got transferred, and I heard that he died on an operation. He went to some A team and he died on an operation, that was very suspicious because he was never going to go out on an operation. So he went up someplace and was taken care of. I'm not sure where it was, and if I did, I wouldn't say it. But anyway, that was he got his just desserts. So
David, what's your last name over here? David?
Balanoff.
Okay, got you.
Got it?
Right. Mike, I talked to a fellow by the name of Thomas Jefferson.
boy, that was a long time ago.
No, I was just recent, but he finally admitted that he was a member of those four A teams, and he later went into the diplomatic service. Spent some time at the embassy and away, and I'm sure you crossed paths with him at some point. I mentioned your name, and he was aware of it. But I finally got his name changed, and he disappeared. But I pointed out that you had been on the same pair of C-130s as he was going to Vietnam, and he was kind of surprised at that. So
That's surprising to me too. I don't recall that name.
I don't recall that name, but there was a Thomas Jefferson, the diplomatic service, but it was like 1780.
no,
That's the only Thomas Jefferson I remember. So.
the more recent one, he lives in Virginia now, and he's a Thomas K. Jefferson, and he was on one of those teams, on one of the four teams. But he's still suspicious. I don't know. I haven't heard of a Nigerian Prince's Special Forces scam yet. But I've got a lot of people who are really worried about answering the telephone. So,
Island, I want to tell you, Island, that one of your team members, McIntosh, Michael Dwayne McIntosh, he's a very good friend of mine, and he spoke very highly of you. And he always, you say you were fired. Well, he was always in your corner. And I spent some time with him after Vietnam. He actually, I think he extended for a year, but he came back and after he got out of the Army, and he was ushering my first wedding. And we visited several times, even after later, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and I think he passed away like in 2016 or something like that. But Agent Orange related, yeah. So
yeah,
anyway.
he was a real good guy, and he came by a year or two before he died. He visited us with his wife in Virginia, my home in Virginia. I think, although he didn't say it, he was on sort of a farewell tour. I remember one particular memory I have of Mickey McIntosh is we were standing outside a village and there was fire and smoke and stuff going on, and he was standing near me, and his Texas drawl was so pronounced, so slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, "Don't move, sir. There's a great big snake right behind you." He said, haven't made a snake that fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Mac was one of a kind.
I noticed, Steve, that you had two other guys from the original A-351, Reggie England and Spencer Gay. Did they respond?
On a session we had last week, George and Mike were the only two people that showed up. And I'm not George, Dale.
Dale England.
George and Dale. George Stockton and Dale England. I don't know why he's not here today. I think he had a good time on the last one.
Yeah.
Steve, this is Mike Lacey. I'm going to bail now and say goodbye to all you guys. It's been a pleasure, but you're getting into a story arc now that I was not part of. So I'm just going to sign off and hope we get to do something like this again.
Okay.
Mike, Lacey, I'm going to send you those pictures. I think
Good.
you'd enjoy it.
Good.
Okay.
I'll send some back to you and the other guys too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So long.
Goodbye.
And I'm going to follow.
Hey, Pat, I want to tell you, I like that painting behind your head.
Like what?
Say, I like that painting behind your head.
Oh, you do, huh? I'll tell them to. So you're a little late there, Robin. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
I'm good. I'm gonna get out. I have to go to a bank appointment. And
okay, well, say hi to Joanne. I'll talk to you later.
We'll see you this summer.
Somewhere.
And so you guys, thank you very much, Steve. This was super.
I'll see you this summer.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm really surprised there's just 3 of you here so far. I hope a few more people will show up shortly. But I had something like 30 something people that I sent the emails to and I had talked to and found. So I was expecting a lot more at this time to show up.
I would think England would show up. He was pretty enthusiastic about it last week.
Well, so are most of the people I talked to.
Yeah.
But for example, your former CO though, he turns out that he had some funeral arrangements to make. So sometimes that happens, but we had quite a lot of people here. I actually probably should just call a few people up and kick their butt. Yeah. Go ahead. I'll take this here.
Yeah. Mike, did you keep track of Dale England?
For a while, yes. We were in SOG. We went to SOG.
Yeah.
And then both in 46 Company at the same time.
Okay.
So
okay.
we had, maybe 7 continuous years where we were at least near each other. And then there have been sporadic email contact, but I'm in regular contact with Spencer Gay.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's just the 3 of us left that are still upright.
Yeah. that's about the way it is with 352. Of course, we lost four guys in NOM, and then several of them, of course, McIntosh and James Browder, Bobby Noonan, those guys, Carnegie, they've all passed away. So I've been in touch with Larry Miller, who's our XO. He's still upright and doing well. He just retired last year at 80. Took him a long time to retire from. He was worked for a public CPA firm, and when he left after his second tour in NAM, during the second tour, he was the fire control officer for the 173rd Brigade. And he came home and his son didn't know him. So he said, okay, that's it. I'm out of here. So he got out, went back to school, got a degree. So worked for an accounting firm for a number of years and just retired. So we've been texting back and forth. When he retired, he said, I left my computer there and I'm never going to have another one. And he said that, so he said, I can't join these sessions, but he does text. So I've been sending him texts. But he and I think, are pretty much the only ones left. I tried to find Joe Cawley, who was on our team. And I had 2 phone numbers from him, but I haven't had any response at all. So I think he was in NAM. I think he was like, 30 years old at the time. So I'm not sure if he's still alive. I'm not sure what kind of shape he's in. But like you say,
he'd be pretty mature by now. Yeah,
he would be. Yeah. So,
well, I was in touch with your team leader for quite a while, but Jack Phillips.
Oh yeah.
He died in Thailand. I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that.
Okay, I heard rumors that he was still in SF later on. Did some stuff in Africa. I never really got in touch with it. No, okay.
No, he was always in Thailand.
Oh, okay. Okay. I would assume he made the Army a career.
He did. He left at 20 years, married a Thai lady with 4 kids, settled down there.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Who were you asking about earlier?
Billy Jack Phillips.
No, before that.
Oh, before that.
You said you left messages with him.
Miller. Captain Larry Miller, the XO from 352. You got me his phone number. He said he doesn't have a computer last week, and I've been texting with him, so talking to him a lot.
This is one you said you couldn't get hold of. You don't know that?
Joe Cawley. You gave me 2 phone numbers, and there hasn't been. I got a voice message, but I didn't get any response.
Okay. Here comes Dale.
Oh, there's Dale.
There he is.
Why, so he is in the flesh.
Okay, I'm here.
Or,
How you doing, Reggie?
Okay.
okay, I couldn't get Spencer to answer the phone, Warren Gay to answer the phone, so I don't know what his problem is.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I've got both of you in the same place. Actually, here's 3 people from the same airplane right now.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Well, guys, I'm gonna head out now and let 351 take over. Dale, it's good seeing you again. This is George Stockton.
Okay.
Yeah, take care, guys. Thank you,
Okay.
Steve.
Good to see you,
for putting this
George.
together. Good to see you. Thanks for putting it together.
I'm going to do the same here. 352 Brian Peterson signing off. But Steve, this is a terrific opportunity to catch up with everyone. So I wish you all well.
Good seeing Brian.
Yeah.
David, why don't you tell us a little bit about your time over there?
I got to A company around, I think it was March 9th, 68, and stayed there for a month or so in the S2. And then they sent me out to up to Dukeway, and I had gone through training at Bragg for the 11F4S Assistant Intel program, and they sent me out to Dukeway A-352 to be the Intel sergeant because they didn't have one. And I was there for maybe 4 months is all. I remember captain was Cobb at that time, and Sumter was the team sergeant, I believe. Saul Arredondo was there. And I'm not sure about Mike Lake here. If there was a Lake at the team for a short time.
I come in January, right about 2 weeks before Tet, and then I left in probably September, October. Then I left country in December.
Yeah, I think you were there the same time. Were you a medic or a common?
Yeah, I was a medic, and I ran most of my ops with Sumter.
Yeah, my first op that I ever ran was with Sumter also. And it wasn't too busy there. We went out on our patrols, but we very rarely made contact on the first one, but didn't have too much in the way of contact. And then trying to remember, somebody was talking about politics earlier. We had a Lieutenant, I think Bradley, I'm not sure, tall blonde guy.
No, Brad.
Sutter, Bradley Sutter.
I remember,
He
yeah,
was-
Sutter.
Yeah, Sutter was there, and he ran into the same issues. He had uncovered a bunch of corruption on the LLDB, and of course, the outcome was the same. He left. So we had a couple other lieutenants. I think Davis and Wunsch.
We got a Carlock too, Billy Carlock.
He wasn't there when I was there. I left in I think June. I was only there 4 months. While I was there, the Mike Force came through, and they had run a short operation out in our area around us and Dukeway, and I was all snowed by them, and so I put in a request for transfer and went to the Mike Force down in Long High. I got there about, I think June, I'm not sure. And I was with 3 Corps Mike Force until following March when I left. But I can't remember all the names. Major Rulin was there and some other guys, but I ran the large operations with them until near the end in November. They were looking for recruits for recon, so I did that, which after being with the battalion out there making noise and everything, and then finally going to recon, it's kind of scared the hell out of you a little bit. But I made it through. But as far as Dukeway goes, I didn't spend a lot of time there.
You mentioned Lieutenant Wunsch.
Huh?
You mentioned Lieutenant Wunsch.
Yeah.
1968, I think there was a Paul once. In 1969, there was a William Wuensth once. So
Yeah,
I haven't been able to confirm Paul. He used to live here in Houston, but he's
it might have been, after I'd gone to the Mike Force about a month or two later, about three more team members, the two lieutenants, Winch and Davis, who were not good friends at all. They both ended up down in Long High.
Once ended up in Long High. I know that. Davis, I think, was a later guy. I think Davis, I have him in 1970.
Yeah, well, been a long time. And then we had our weapons sergeant at Duquesne was Gaither.
Yeah,
Anybody remember that?
yeah. I sure
Gaither,
do.
he was a good old guy. He showed up at the Mike Force too. So I guess A-352 was a good, I don't know, prep for going to the Mike Force. But
Well, that's where the medic that, Mac, that's all I remember. And he left for the Mike Force too, probably in, maybe February. It's after Ted anyway.
yeah, was Cobb there when you were there?
Who?
I think Cobb, Captain Cobb.
Oh, yeah, Cobb was there. Yeah.
And then after he left, they brought in some straight leg guy that wasn't even Special Forces. You remember that?
I don't
I
remember.
can't remember his name, but he
can't
showed
remember.
up as our CO.
Cobb
And-
was followed by William Smith.
What about him? I think was
William,
Smitty the guy that worked with the artillery? He was not Special Forces, but he came in and worked with the artillery, and he was attached to us. And Smitty was a real good scrounger. If you remember the movie, he was sure like that. He'd go into Saigon and come back with a lot of stuff. He brought back a minigun. It wasn't all together, but the LLDB and the Viet didn't know it. We put that in front of the commo bunker. And I mean, he came back one time we hadn't had any good food in a while, and he came back with cases of steaks. I don't know how he did it, but he was good at it. And then I don't know if it was shortly after I got there or before, they hired this French chef. I think he was in Duquois at the B team area for a while. And he came out, a short, chunky guy. He had cooked for the French when they were still in Vietnam. And I don't know, he just wanted a place to be safe. And so he came out and he was great, man. He could cook anything. And we got down to a point where I had one of those great GI cans of Spam, and we couldn't get resupplied for a while. He cooked that for like 6 straight days, 3 times a day, and did it different. These are the weird things I remember. But,
Yeah, I really appreciate this. I've got to sign off, Steve, I'm afraid, here in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's good to see everybody and to hear some of the stories and recollections. And I'm sure I could come up with more stories and they'd get better as the evening went on. But it is evening here. It's 10:30 at night. So I've got a split. I really enjoyed this. Thank you very, very much for setting it up.
I have to be able to reach you out there in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked. Glad it worked. Okay, so long.
Have a good trip.
I can give you one other bit of information. When I got there, it was shortly after Trey-Coup, which was A-351 at the time, had gotten not overrun, but they had had a massive attack and they had hundreds of dead bodies in the wire and stuff. And that's when one of the lieutenants, he was there. I thought it was Davis, but I'm not sure. I don't remember his name. Young blonde guy, but he had gotten a Silver Star at Trey-Coup, and then he showed up over there with us. He was our psych officer or something like that. But we had 3 lieutenants for a while, and then Sutter left. We just had the other 2, and that was pretty much it. But Team Sergeant was a hell of a good guy, man. I know Spider Parks is a relatively well-known guy, but I think Sumter was also called Spider when I got there. But that's about all for now that I can think of with names. Oh, our commo sergeant, I think I saw a name on the list earlier. Francis Taylor.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
knew
sound
Francis.
right?
I knew
Yeah.
him.
He was our commo guy.
I stayed in the commo bunker with Taylor and they always had a medic in the commo bunker, so that's where I hung out with him in the commo bunker.
Mm.
I don't know why Taylor isn't here, because I spoke with him a while back.
Oh, and Blake's another one. Blake was there
Blake,
for a while, and then he
Demo
left.
guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then I think after a while it's his turn to go. I mean, D-Rose or go back to the States. But the only other story I can tell you was about football. We were just north of the Mekong in kind of a transition area. We had a lot of mud in that camp. It was really muddy. And I had a friend of mine send me a football back from back in the States. And I don't know if Mike remembers this, but we got out in that mud and played football, and all of the Vietnamese troops, they were just laughing their butts off. And that's about it. Thank you. Unless you remember that, Mike, I don't know.
I don't remember that. I remember it being muddy there when that camp was just being built in January, and there was nothing but mud. And one of my side jobs was to sod them berms of the triangle, the star.
Yeah.
And we sodded them, and about all I could do was, I had an assistant named Wallace, who was a local guy there, and I remember our cook name, and we didn't even have a kitchen back then in January, where her name was C, and we always used to pull her pants down, so she liked that, Yeah.
We had those 3 little boys that were there, the camp kids.
Yeah, I
You
remember the
them?
camp kids. Yeah, I do, but I can't remember their names, but I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
They could take apart and clean an M16 faster than you could blink.
Yeah.
Their names are O, Rum, and Dumb.
Good bit. Yeah.
That's not a joke either. That was, yeah.
Yeah.
But they were pretty good kids. They were good. Yeah.
I know we delivered a lot of kids at that camp, and finally I got tired of it, and I turned most of that stuff over to Wallace over there. He was a good male nurse and everything, and he did most of it. I know on Easter Sunday we delivered a set of twins while we were there, so I remember that. But yeah,
You remember hooking up that water tank when the chopper came in?
I know I jumped off a container and twisted the hell out of my ankle, and in fact I went up to Coo Chi to have it x-rayed, and of course it was okay, but I felt like I broke it anyway.
We had no roads in. Everything was done by helicopter. And
that's right.
That Chinook would come in every so often and bring us. We had no water of our own. They would bring in that trailer, the water trailer.
Yeah, I understood you.
Remember that now? We had to go outside the camp and then
Sure do.
unhook it or hook it. And all they ever told us was don't touch the hook.
Yeah.
And I saw what happened. Somebody did one day and they just got knocked right off the trailer from the static electricity. And that was fun. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm going to listen.
Let's see if I got my video and everything working.
Yep.
Yeah, you do.
Jack Blake here. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Mike Lake. God, dog.
How you doing, partner?
Man, long time no see, buddy. I'm sitting here with goosebumps.
Yeah.
How you been?
Put your camera down a little bit till you have your whole face in. There you go.
I was just getting up there close to you. I guess I wanted to or something as ugly as you are. Son of a.
Well, hell, you're just as ugly as you ever been, too.
Let me see if I can get this camera working right.
There you go.
That's looking good.
Yeah.
Where you
okay.
at now?
I'm in California, Mike.
Are you?
Yep.
Well, I'm on the other end. I'm in Florida,
Okay, whereabouts?
Ocala.
Oh, man. Mike, good Lord. You, I hate to tell war stories. You remember when we did the darn hemorrhoid operation on old,
You did it on me.
huh?
You did that on me.
That's right, they did it on you. Yeah, McDonough kind of directed that, and I sat there and photographed the whole thing.
You know, I thought it was, I was thinking it was Buick that did it, not Mac.
It may have been, it may have been. I don't know. I remember photographing the whole thing. There in the commo shack.
You still got the pictures?
I think I do, but they're not quite pictures of your butthole. They were just pictures of the whole thing going on. I think I still have them. So
Yeah,
if I do, I'll scan them and mail them to you, buddy.
do that.
Yeah. Son of a gun, you're looking good.
Hey, you're looking good too, man. It was good seeing you. We was
Yeah.
sitting there talking with David over here and was trying to figure out some of the names on that team. And, you know, I can't remember what Mac's first name was. And he was there when I got to camp.
His name was Tom.
Tom McDonald. And he
Yep.
was from Boston. They called him Mac.
Yep. Yep. And I've always wondered what happened to him. I always tried to get hold of him, but never have been successful.
I know
Who
he
are you
went to
talking
the
about now? Jack, who are you talking about?
Tom McDonough,
McDonough. What
Yeah.
was his job on the team?
medic.
Medic.
Remember him.
His mom always sent him a bottle of Jack Daniels.
I don't see his name on the list. Tom McDonough.
Yep.
He went to the Mike Force. He went to Mike Force, didn't he, Jack?
You know, he may have. I don't know. He was.
Oh,
still,
yeah, I know he did for sure, but I don't know what happened to him after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You like this Jay Balanoff. Were you the guitar player?
I was.
Yeah, I used to play and you had the harmonica attached and everything.
I was.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there with you for a few months.
At Dookway.
Yeah, I was the intel guy. I came in. I was spec 4 at the time.
I got you. I got you. Man, this is some kind of crazy. I just think about, I have never forgotten any of the people that were out there. I mean, I've forgotten names and faces, but that was a year that defined my life. And I'll never regret it, So.
I think you left sometime in April or May. Were you up for going back to the States by then?
No,
June?
I left when monsoons hit. Monsoons had hit and that place was about ready to wash away.
Oh, okay.
And I was transferred back to the C team, and I was at the C team until I deroased in October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who was the CEO, the guy they called Rapid Fire back then? Was he still there?
Hayes was his name.
Yeah, I couldn't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was at the C team.
Rapid Fire was
Curtis-
Rapid Fire was his golf sign.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's what everybody called him. I don't remember his name. He was a bird.
Thomas McDonough, McDonough.
Roger that.
Yeah.
He passed away in 98 in
Yeah.
New Hampshire. So he was a medic, you say, right? Okay.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
I'll add him to the list.
351 Dookway and 351 Hiep as well. He was a Hiep as well. Agreed, Mike?
You know, that was before me, and all I remember about Hepwa was drinking rum with him. We used to take that rum and cut it with iced tea.
That was that Hiep rum made there.
Yeah, Hepwa rum. Yep, exactly.
You guys remember that shower they had set up for us outside? Where the kids would get up on top with buckets of water out of the swamp there?
Yeah, I sure do.
I sure do. I sure do. I remember that. I tell
That was
you,
terrible.
that was that orange water that came out of those lakes.
Yeah.
It turned my skin brown, and I was so proud of my suntan, when I got to Hawaii for R&R, I got in the shower, come out, I was white as a sheet.
Well, we used to bathe in them lakes down there at the south end of the camp there, them 2 lakes there. We used to bathe in them all the time, didn't we?
Yep. And it was nasty. It's a wonder we didn't get some kind of parasite.
I hear you.
Yeah. What have you done with your life there, Mike?
Well, I got out. My kid was born while I was over there in July, and when it come my time to get the hell out, I got out, got back and went to school, and I ended my background was always agriculture, and I ended up being a hog buyer covering about 5 states for a company out of Iowa. And then I retired and moved down here to Florida, where my wife's original people come from.
I got you.
I can't remember you being a California boy, though.
No, I was from Mississippi at the time. Yeah, I lived in, when I joined the Army, I was from Mississippi. I've been raised in Mississippi. And company I worked for transferred me out here in '85 and went back down south, got laid off, worked construction, ended up right back out here. So, California. Yeah. And David, where are you?
I'm in Arizona, about 20 miles from the Mexican border.
Oh, yeah.
I came out here after I finished school back in '71, got my degree, which was worthless at the time. And when I got back to the university, I didn't know anybody, but I knew how to fall out of an airplane, and they had a parachute club. So I met a lot of people through that. I joined that and I skydived for about 9 years all around the country and wound up in Arizona and been here ever since. Became a fireman, did 29 years with the city of Tucson. Then I went to the police academy and I was a cop for 4 years. Got done with that in '09. Now I just play with horses and cows. Live out in the boonies, my wife, and in a little area, and got animals. Talk to them more than I do people, but it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, yeah. You mainly just domestic horses, or you use them for?
Yeah, yeah, they're just pleasure horses.
Yeah.
We had cow. We ran about 20 head of cattle for many years, and finally that was getting to be more work than we needed, so we shut that down, and now we just got the horses and other farm animals.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me busy and more fun talking to them than people. I can say that.
David,
Yeah.
this is Robin Smith here. Do you know a gal who works for Arizona Game and Fish named Raina Tucker?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right.
But I know a lot of game and fish people, because when I went through the police academy in Tucson, they ran their people through there too. And there was about 8 or 9 of them, but that name doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, she's my daughter, but she rides around on choppers looking for bighorn sheep a lot.
Oh,
And,
cool. She's up north. She's up north.
Well, she lives in Marina, but she's.
Oh, Marana, yeah. It's just north of Tucson, yeah.
Yep.
I spent probably 33 years in Tucson.
Cool.
And yeah. But yeah, I know Marana. I know that area. But yeah, I'm just way further south than that.
Sure.
And the guys and the people that they had down here, I knew most of them for quite a while, and not her though. Sorry. But
Next time. Maybe
the
you'll
ones
meet
that were
her. She does.
officers, they were pretty good. They were.
Yeah,
went through-
she does a lot of conservation projects too, with local farmers and ranchers. So that's why I figured you might know her.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell, but that's not to say I haven't run into her. You know.
Yeah. Well, next time.
Yeah. Mostly what we have down here is border patrol. I mean, they're
Yeah.
you can't spit without hitting one, and
Yep.
most of them are pretty good people, but it's a rough time for them down here right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel for him.
Which team were you on?
A-351, A-352, and I went in 353 when Lung Hua went in, and was there for maybe a couple of months.
Were you at Treku?
I was at Treku, and I was at Hiep and Duquois. I was a radio operator, so I went all over the place, you know.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But you don't remember the lieutenants that were there during the attack? Wait, who you had there?
Yeah, I do. O'Brien, I think, was one.
Yeah.
Gentry, Lieutenant Gentry.
It doesn't ring a bell either.
Was this a tri-coup?
Yeah, during Tet. And I think Gentry was on the B team. I flipped between the B team and the A team during Tet. So the first night of Tet, I was on the A team. And then I went right back to the B team the next day. And we got hit again. So I kind of knew both sets of people at those places.
Yeah. Well, I was processing in at the end of Tet, so I didn't get a whole lot of it.
Yeah.
George, did you know Stickney at the B team, B-35 at Duquois?
You know, that's vaguely a familiar name. What was his MOS? What did he do?
Well, he would have been an E8 intel sergeant at the B team level, and he was my uncle.
I don't remember him, I don't think.
Yeah, he was, God, he might have stayed in the service 30 years because he stayed in a long time, I know.
Sergeant Sorsick was in charge of all the Camo people on the B team. And he was the one that,
Sorsick.
yeah, and then Charlie Mendoza, Major Mendoza, was the CO. And I think Master Sergeant Abel was maybe the team sergeant.
Yeah.
But, you know, other than that, you know, Priest was, when I was on Traku, Sergeant Major Priest, Sergeant Major. He was the team sergeant.
Yeah.
And then,
there was a radio operator at the B team at he come in country the same time I did, and he wanted to be out on an A team, but he finally got to Traku, and then on his first stop he bought the farm. So
Tom Drix.
Tom Drix.
Yep.
He just got married in DC the time right before, while he was on leave before. Tom Drix.
Yeah, Drix. Yep.
Yeah,
a young kid.
Well, I thought I knew him well anyway, but
yeah, he's a young kid.
I never knew him, Mike, but I'll tell you a real interesting story. I was on CQ at Hiep when that ambush occurred. So I never knew Grex. But it's been longer than that. Now, it's been 5 years ago. This guy called me. He says, "Were you in Vietnam with my uncle, Tom Grex?" I said, "No."
Wow.
I knew who he was. He says, "Well, the family would love to know the details of how he got killed." And it just, I was humbled. And so I hung up on him. I said, "Give me about 2 or 3 days to think about this," and and it started me recalling a lot of memories. But I was able to provide some of the details since I was on CQ that day. I was listening to it all on the radio. And I was able to give that guy a kind of a good rundown, and it made me feel good to be able to give that family some closure.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, really was humbling to be able to do it. So,
I was just bummed. I really liked him. I kind of trained him, broke him in on the B team and to the combo procedures and stuff. And he went out to the A team and he died right afterwards. And I was just like, God, it's such a nice kid, you know?
It was his
Yeah.
first stop. Well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. First off, yeah, I don't think he'd been on the A team more than a week or two.
I'm sure not. Yeah, I knew it was close. Yeah. Big guy.
I don't remember much what he looked like.
Yeah, he was a big guy because my God, compared to you know, the Sidge out there that we was with, you know, he was 2 foot bigger than most of them.
Everybody's bigger than the Sidge.
Well, yeah, I know that. Yeah. He was really big.
Uh-huh.
I remember, Mike, I remember you being a fairly good sized guy, weren't you?
Yeah, I was big with him too, but you know, when I went out with Sumter, we was both about the same heights, and yeah, we ran a lot of them together at the end, you know, so.
Well, I was happy when I went out with Sutter because I was a little guy. And so all I had to do was walk a little hunched over and I looked like the rest of them, but he stuck out with that blonde hair like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
I figured they'll take him before they get to me.
Yeah, I remember.
Betty?
I remember one time going out with Carlock. It was it
Yes,
would have been his first stop, and old Sumter Top told us. He says,
Yeah, I
he
need
says,
I need you to come in here now.
Yeah, he says Lake's running this operation. That's you. So, yeah.
Just look.
hey,
don't
Dave,
want that
whatever
back.
happened to Sutter?
How's your, okay, my name's on there now.
John,
Even my
welcome to join. Here's John Roberts, who was the XO there for a bit of time.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi, Jack.
Oh, it is a cruise ship, just like mine.
Hey,
How can I
John,
get the,
good to see you, buddy.
yeah, good to see y'all.
I'm gonna go call some more people, so you guys just get on with it there.
Hey, David, whatever became of Sutter, do you know?
I don't know. When I went off to the Mike Force, that was the last I saw of him.
What?
Give me the mouse. Okay, you got it on the full screen.
Okay. Yeah, I got you on full screen. Let's see. Stephen Sherman, Mike Lake. See, were you a medic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember working with you and George Smith.
That's
What was your
me.
special?
I was a radio operator,
Radio.
combo guy.
And David Balanoff.
Yeah.
What was your role now? I
I was
remember.
at Dukeway. I came in as the intel sergeant for a while.
It's
but-
intel.
Yeah, I was a young guy though. I had gone through at Bragg for assistant intel and they sent me out there. I was just a spec 4 at the time. But
Well-
I think I was there for about 4 months, maybe 5.
Yeah, it's kind of like me. I don't remember what anybody did out there. I know that I didn't do much of anything except go on patrols, but around the camp, didn't do much of anything. Now I begin to recognize y'all. Yeah, I recognize you now. Yeah, it's kind of, I'm trying to de-age you a little bit here.
Good luck.
Good luck
Years
with
off.
that.
Yeah.
So what do y'all do now? Are any of you, did you stay in the Army?
I'm a
I got
retired
out after
college
3
professor.
years. Yeah. Sometimes I wish I'd have stayed in, but I didn't.
Now, Mike Lake, were you at the B team for a little while, Mike?
No, I went from the C team almost straight out to A-351.
And so you went to Hiep first, or did you go directly to Dukeway?
I went directly to Dukeway.
Now, I remember one of the medics, we had a mortar injured one of the CIDG and his foot was just hanging by a little thread. Was that you that removed that thread?
That might have been Mac. When? When
That was in December or January 68, perhaps December 67.
Well, I'd have left team by then. It had to be
You were-
67.
You were gone by then.
No, I was gone by December 68.
So you came in December 67. That's when I was there.
Yeah.
Huh.
I came in January of 68.
And George Robin Smith, I can't remember, what was your specialty?
Communications, radio operator.
When were you there?
67, 68 during TET, I was there. We had spent all this time laying out an artillery grid with the guys in Duquois to shoot. You know, we said, if we call in these grids, to shoot them, you know. So the night of TET, they jammed up our radios and we couldn't call them in Duquois to shoot these grids that we'd laid out. And I remember trying to relay it through Nui Baden and finally got through the Nui Baden after about 2 hours after the whole thing ended. So we never got our artillery in.
Yeah, well, do you remember that little a piece of a commo truck that sat on a hill? It became the bunker for a little while. And for a little while, we just had to sit out in the open, monitor the radio in the little van that they dismantled.
I don't remember that. Where was that? At Hiep?
At Duquois. At Duquois.
No, I was at Duquois, B-35.
Yeah, now I was there when that ambush took place. You remember Sergeant Silvers?
I sort of vaguely do. I think I
He
do
was the
remember.
Master Sergeant Silvers. I think he was the commo guy at Duquois. And I know he was in there when that ambush took place because that's where I went. I went into the commo bunker and I was kind of fielding calls from all the different sources that requesting artillery, requesting fire teams and so on.
Sure.
Trying to keep track of what was going on. You might have been in there at the same time.
I remember Silvers now, yeah.
All that stuff is getting real vague.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I tell you what I did though, and I'll get it to all of y'all. I contacted the National Archives and I got copies of the MOPSUM. Do you remember the MOPSUM, the Monthly Operations Summary?
Sure. Pat Clark wrote those.
Pardon?
Pat Clark, who was a medic, wrote a lot of those because Priest, Master Sergeant Priest, the team sergeant, put him on writing all the MOPSUMs.
Well, I got a hold of the MOPSUMs and the reports about that battle of the ambush and the aftermath of the ambush and the official reports. And what I'll do, I'll copy them somehow. They're very long. They're on long paper. That makes it hard to copy them.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'll copy them and I'll just email them to all of you.
That's great.
It's going to be a chore. They're in Austin. I'm in Denton, Texas now. Those papers are in Austin, but it has listed everything that happened around and about that camp for several day period there. And I think it has some names in there. I think Captain Helman might have written part of this. And part of it was just based on the times and events that I had recorded while I was in there in that comm center. But the rest of it was, I don't know who wrote it. Anyway, Mike, were you there then?
Yeah, I went into, because I could type, I went in and did a lot of those mops for probably in February on. I used to go into the B team probably twice a month and do the mops.
So there was a guy named Stephen Perry that was doing those things at that time, if I remember right. Steve Perry. I was hoping he'd be on here today. Stephen Perry was the operations officer at the B team, and he knows a lot about. He was also out at Camp Hiep before it became Duquois, He'd been the XO or the CO, I don't know which. So he knows a lot about that whole area that I don't know about. Don't know anything about it. I was hoping he'd be on here. Dale, what did you do now? What was your job?
I was the intel sergeant on the original team that went into country in April of '66.
Oh, ooh, you're way before my time.
And we went into Hiep in May of '66 and got overrun there when we was there for less than a month. And then about September, October, I rotated out of there and went over to A-353, the Mobile Guerrilla Force. And I stayed with them until April of '67. And May of '67, when I got shot up.
So you were never at Dukway, you were at Hiep, the sugar mill.
I was at Hiep. The plan was to go to Dukway, but I didn't stick around long enough to go there. We ran recons over there in that area about 3 times, walked into it a couple of times, and then helicoptered into it 1 time. And then would walk out every time, I think.
I take it there wasn't much out there where Dukway camp was before the camp went in.
The area had Indians living out there, and they were farming water buffaloes, and they had crops in that area. So there was people out there.
I think they must have been the wrong kind of people.
Well, we were never over there long enough to really figure it out.
Well, if I could get into dig around in the archives, if they sent everything back to the archives like they should have done from the B team, all the stuff that was kept in the file cabinets there at the B team, if all that stuff got sent back to the National Archives like it should have been, there'd be some detailed drawings of that Dukway camp. That camp was designed by the Corps of Engineers, and it was designed. It looks just like a 1700s fort in Europe. It was modeled on those kind of forts, a star-shaped forts.
Was the Pentagon in the middle, wasn't it? Wasn't it, John?
With the Pentagon in the center, yeah. Had a 5-pointed star and then a Pentagon in the center. And the Pentagon was where the Special Forces teams, the Vietnamese and Americans, were inside that Pentagon. And the commo bunker was in there, the team house, the storeroom, and the LLDB team house, and a kind of a bunker that y'all remember sleeping in that bunker. Somehow we built that bunker out of logs and sandbags and crap, and that was where the team eventually wind up sleeping. But when I first went out there wasn't anything. We just slept on the ground out next to the berm. But I got out there on December the 20th, 1967. That ambush had taken place on the 10th, I believe it was. Or was it the 15th? Now I'm confused about it. Where Tom Grix was killed. Did you all know Tom Grix?
I knew Tom.
You did know him?
I trained him on the B team. When he came in country, I trained him on the B team how to do the commo thing. And then he went out to the A team and got killed a couple of weeks later.
So he was at the B team for a little while.
Yeah, not long.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen him before. But the people at the B team that were commo people, you kind of stayed in that commo bunker much of the time. Didn't see you that often.
Right. And was that before it went to the MAC-V compound? I mean, went from the MAC-V compound over to where the B team was. I think they were building that B team place when I came in country. So we were on that. Yeah, so we were at MACV compound for a while.
You know, that, I think if I remember right, that MacV compound was called Pohl compound, Pohl compound.
Boy, I just don't remember.
And there wasn't much to it, but I've got this book called Where We Were. It's a big thick book that has all of the military, all the Army facilities anyway, and all of Vietnam, every little camp, including Duc Quay, Tra Cu, Lung Hoa, and so on. But it has, but it doesn't have Pohl compound.
Huh.
There were several Americans in there, and had a little PX even.
Really?
Just a little hole in the wall.
They, as I remember, there was just one house. It was a wooden house. It looked like an army barracks. Everybody slept there, and there was a concrete combo bunker right outside that, and that's where I started working, and then moved over to the new B-35 camp.
So you were at Pohl compound to start with, and then
I guess so. Yeah, it wasn't
Camp
long.
Swampy.
Yeah.
Well, that I wonder how many people are still alive or have died that were at that camp at one time.
It's hard to tell. I mean, nope. I don't know.
George, I gotta ask you something, George. You were at Tri Coop, correct?
Correct.
Were you there in April?
You know,
68?
No, I don't think so. Do you know of any other people who were on that team at that time?
The only one I remember is Price, who got killed there.
Price or Priest?
I thought it was Price, but maybe Priest, he was CO.
Well, Priest was a CO. Oh, no, Priest was the sergeant, the team sergeant.
Yeah, this was a captain. He was.
No, I didn't know him, Captain Price. Nope.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is in April, we were on a reaction force on standby for an operation out of Tri Coop. They walked into an ambush, got shot up real bad. They sent us in as a reaction force. And first lieutenant, it was first lieutenant and an E6. I think he was a weapons E6, and he was black. And
but that was Roosevelt. His first name was Roosevelt.
That's what I'm wanting to find out his name, because he had been hit in the shin, and his whole shin was just hanging. His whole bottom part of his leg was just hanging.
Jesus.
And was pinned down in the middle of a wide open area. And anyway, we got him out of there and got him medevaced. But a couple of choppers got shot down. One chopper didn't get shot down, but the pilot got killed trying to get him out. And then another one came in, he got all shot up. And the third one came in after we withdrew, and we got him on there and got him out. And I've always wondered what happened to him, what his name was. It's just haunted me. And if I could find that guy's name and look him up, make sure he's okay, it sure make me feel good.
Okay, this is a black sergeant. Was he a medical specialist?
I don't know. I wanted to think he was weapons, but he may have been medical, but he was E6.
He wouldn't have been medical, not there, not at Tri Coop in 68.
Okay, he may have been a weapons, but I don't remember, but he was an E6.
There was a black
date on that again?
Say again, Steve?
Got a date on that?
April 1st, 1968.
Okay.
Remember it well.
Go ahead.
Well, I was hoping that Captain, I can't remember his name. The guy from Duc Quay. Gosh, damn! I got his name written down here and I can't find it. I've been trying to find him. He was the camp commander. I was hoping Stephen Perry would be here because I would like to learn more about what happened on that day of that ambush. That was kind of a turning point in my life. I know that ambush itself really opened my eyes about things. And, you know, it's not even in Vietnam, even as long as that war went on and as bad as it was, some places, there are very few times and places where you'd have 75 people that were alive and then just suddenly be dead. There were about 77, I believe, depending on how you count it, according to these reports that I have, there were something like 77 CIDG that were killed. And then there was Thomas Grix that was killed. Then there were 12.
Operation?
Yeah, they were ambushed right outside of Dookway there on December the 10th. And Thomas Grix and Lieutenant Gerald Bolton went out together on a patrol that was supposed to locate the firing positions from which Dookway had been fired at the night before. And they went out. They swung out to the north of the camp, then to the west, and then a little to the south till they were about even latitude-wise with the camp. And they found the recoilless rifle rounds in some places where a mortar had been situated. And they then started to move, and they were all killed right then. And I believe Jack Blake was talking with Sergeant Grix at the time he was killed. And so all of them were killed except 12 of them were wounded, and they were captured by the VC, and they were taken into Cambodia and held prisoner until the 25th of December. They were released. I think it was a gesture, a goodwill gesture. They were all Cambodians themselves, and they were released by the VC as a gesture to Cambodia. And they were never allowed back into to any of the A camps or the B camp. They had to stay out at the airfield at Dukwa. Anyway, when I arrived out at Dookway, it was to replace Lieutenant Bolton, who had been evacuated. And when I got out there, that camp was a dead zone. Steve, are you trying to cut in there somewhere?
No, I just was saying a little.
Well, that camp, everybody was in. My impression, looking back on it after all these years, is everybody was in shock. When I went out to that camp, I was new in country, really. I'd only been there about a month and a half. And I went out there, nobody'd speak to me, nobody'd speak to each other. Captain Helvin, he didn't say anything to anybody. And Master Sergeant, help me here.
I think it was Sullivan.
Master Sergeant Sullivan. That poor guy, I felt so sorry for him because he regarded this young guy that was killed as being he was kind of a father figure to him.
Yeah.
And people were really upset. That camp was not really functioning. It really was a mess. I didn't know what my job was. I really didn't. I think I just helped fill sandbags. That was about the only thing I knew how to do. There wasn't any paperwork to do. There wasn't any administrative work to do. It was just a matter of helping to build up the fortifications there. So that kind of opened my eyes to what a mess we were in over there. That was borne out, of course, over the years. It was a mess. After my time there, I volunteered. I did a stupid thing, the stupidest thing I could have done. I volunteered for CNC South, and for CNC, and I went to CNC South, and that was a stupid thing to do. I was just lucky to come out of that alive. I was assigned to the reaction company instead of the recon company. If I'd been on the recon company, I'd have probably wound up dead. But luckily, I was in the reaction company. Didn't have to go out in the field very much. So Well, not very smart. Mr. Chapman, Lou
Yes,
Chapman. Let's see. You just joined us, right?
that's correct.
And you were at Dookway?
That's correct.
Uh,
I arrived there, got in country about September of '68. I was Camo 05 Bravo, so I went up on Nui Baden for about 30 days. And then I went down to A-325, Dookway. So from about November to the following November, I was at Dookway.
Well, that was a miserable experience, I'm sure.
No, it was wonderful. I mean, there was sun every day. You know, you had all these interesting people that you were living there with, you know, and they had their family there, and then I mean, you know, it was just
Chicken feathers and duck feathers.
you couldn't ask
flying
for
around
anything
everywhere.
better for, you know, for a year's vacation, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of photos I took out there. God, I just can't. I got to dig around. It's like a archaeological dig here in my house to find my photos and everything. But someday I'll get them all together and get them on a disc and send everybody what I've got.
When were you there?
I was there from December '67. I was there twice, from December until sometime in March after Tet attack began. And then I was there again, I don't know when, something like May to, I don't know, somewhere August. And then I went to Traku. I got in some trouble with the LLDB there. And so I got, for my own safety, I was removed to go to Traku, which was a lot better camp in my view. It was well organized, and the LLDB there was actually trying to work with the Americans, whereas Daiwi Look was just he was of the old school of the President's Guard when the Special Forces LLDB were nothing but Noden Jim's personal bodyguard.
What time period were you at? 326.
Pardon me?
Oh, cool.
Traku, that was in late '68.
Late '68?
Until about November, mid-November, December.
Were you there when Murphy was killed?
I don't think so. I don't remember anybody being killed.
On 05 Bravo went on an operation. We had met up at the B team. Nice guy. He was less than 30 days, and they were short. Well, a man going out, you know, on operation. You know, two men go out with the LLDB and the CIDG, and he went out and they got ambushed, and he got hit, and they couldn't get to him in a timely manner, and he died.
Died out in the field.
Nice guy, named Murphy.
Well, he died out in the field. He didn't even make it to Kuchi.
Yeah, he died out in the field.
Yeah. What was his name? I'm going to look that up.
Murphy.
Murphy.
Yeah. And Steve, he's listed on the on that database you provided.
I don't. What was his job?
05 Bravo.
Say again.
05 Bravo. Camo.
And his name was Murphy.
Yeah.
I'm going to look him up on that list of all the casualties. You know, you can't go to the National Archives now and get a list of the casualties. Have you ever been able to do that, Stephen Sherman? That used to be you could get that CCAF, whatever it was called, the combined casualty list. Now you can't get it. You have to know the name of somebody you're looking for, and you enter that, and then it'll tell you where the person was killed and a little bit of stuff, but it's pretty sorry, really. They should release that that whole list to everybody.
You know, in December of '68, were you still in country then?
I was.
At
But I was,
Traku?
that was about the time I left Traku, and I went up to B-32 and went on leave before I went to CNC South.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I went on leave.
We got a message down from C Team. Yeah, it was just around Christmas of '68. We got a message saying, burn everything with your names on it. We have been getting 122s and mortars every night, twice a night. And we felt that, you know, something was getting ready to happen. And so C Team Cinematic said, burn everything with your name on it. We've got info that they're gonna come across and hit you guys. So we did that, and then the next thing we knew, a company of the 82nd came out to support us. I think it was the 82nd. Yeah, I believe it was the 82nd. And they came out and we took them on a tour of the AO. And when we got up to the border, as a matter of fact, I wasn't on that particular operation on that particular day. My bunker mate, who was the senior medic at the camp at the time, John, what's John's last name? It'll come to me. But anyway, so John was out with him, and John told him, look, out here on the border, be prepared, because it was NBA. I mean, you know, we didn't see black pajama folks coming through the AO. Very rarely did we see that. And if we did, they weren't armed. So they were workers. So we could see them fall off of formation from our tower. I mean, that's how clear. Well, you were at Duke Way, you know, you could see right from the tower all the way out to the border. And so by that time, they had started to build up. I mean, they had structures there, wooden structures right on the other side of the border. And so they were told, you know, if you're going to be out here, be on guard. And they set out ambushes that first night. Their ambushes were ambushed at 10 meters. Contact was made at 10 meters. And they had to back off of that. They had to back away from the border. You know, it was interesting because their CO said, well, you know, when we were telling them about the AO and and the NBA, well, you know, we're an American outfit. You know, we're American troops here. Okay, but you go up on the border, and they don't give a damn who you are up there. Those NBA will definitely attack, and so that's what happened. That was interesting. But anyway, it prevented the attack. Although we did get aircraft coming in, really, really interesting. Two engine plane flying right out of right from west of, you know, Duke Way west, coming across the border, and we can see it coming. And so we're like, well, you know, is this one of ours? Is this the agency? So we didn't immediately try to shoot it down or anything because we didn't know. So I immediately got on the horn and you know, sent a message up to B team and to C team, explaining what it was. And they initially said, the first time it happened, they said no. And then sometime thereafter, we got another message down that says, yeah, you can go ahead and shoot at it. Well, in the interim of that, between that and the second time it came over, and it came over and it just, slowly flew around the camp. So we knew they were taking pictures. The next thing that happened, a PT-76, the amphibious tank, the NBA amphibious tank, the Russian amphibious tank. We started getting shots from it. And the guys up at, well, I don't know about so much Traku, but some of the other guys at the other camps started to tease us because they're saying, you got this phantom tank. Dukeway is getting shot at by a tank, da 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 da. Well, one day when the tank came across the border and started shooting at us, it just so happened to be at a time when a FAC from Kuchi, being at either Traku or Dukeway, we would get support from Kuchi. And so there was a FAC that had come into the AO and gotten permission to be in the AO and was out flying out by the border as they do. They're looking for some action with their little rockets and stuff. But they saw him as he was going back across the border and going back into a pond on the other side of the border to Cambodia. So that's how we got confirmation that, it was a PT-76 shooting at us. But those were, we didn't get the hit, but they were, you go to bed about, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then you get your first hit. 122s will start coming in, let's say around 12 o'clock. And so you get up and you respond, you go to your positions and you respond. And then they stop and, you check, make sure everybody's okay. And then you go back to bed. Then like about 3 o'clock, they do it again. And so that went on for a good 6 or 7 months. They'd wake us up, we go back to bed, and then they wake us up again. And so to this day, I'm still having trouble with my sleeping. If my sleep gets interrupted, it takes me a minute to get back to sleep again. I'm on medication with VA for that.
So were you ever you're talking about Traku?
No, I'm speaking of Dukeway.
Dukeway.
Yeah, 325.
Yeah, so but you were there, you were there late in 68.
Yeah, right. I got there about
some point,
October, November 68.
The way I understand it, at some point that camp was turned over to the Vietnamese Rangers.
Yeah, that was in 70 when they was closing down all the camps.
They were beginning to close them down. But
when they started closing down.
In the meantime, the Navy had something out there. I wasn't there, so I don't know anything about it. But somehow the Navy had came in 68, late 68 or 69, and they went out and built a little runway there. So
yeah. They came and helped us put in another runway.
I can't imagine a runway being there. I know there was an empty field there right by the star-shaped fort where one of the sergeants, there's a Sergeant Taylor, I think it is, Francis Taylor. He's not on there. I wish he was a good guy. He was if I remember right, he was the guy that greeted all the helicopters when they came in. And he would go out, these Chinooks would come in and drop off their supplies, and he'd go out there and at great risk because you get shocked if you don't grab it.
This was, the Seabees built that for us.
But this was before that. That was that field out there where Sergeant Taylor, I believe that was him, Sergeant Francis Taylor. Frank Taylor. He would greet these Chinooks. They never would land. They would just drop their loads off there, and he was running around in that field trying to show them where to drop them. And that field had a lot of old little pits with punji stakes down in them. They had all rotted away by the time we were there. those, I don't know who had put them in there, but they had, these old punji sticks were all rotten, but he still had to run around and risk falling in one of those holes and injuring himself. He never did, but he had to run and dodge to keep that from happening. Do any of y'all remember that in about February, end of February, a new person was sent out to Dookway from the B team? I don't know who he was. I don't know what his specialty was or anything about him. He came in, I don't know where I was. I was either out in the field. I was somewhere around the camp, but I wasn't paying any attention. A helicopter brought him out. And the first thing they did, they put him back on the same helicopter to take him, to show him around the area, and a visual reconnaissance, I believe we called it,
Oh,
VR.
yes.
And so he went out, this new guy went out, I guess with one of the people who'd been in the camp for a while.
I was
And
on that chopper.
who's that?
Yeah, Dave Balanoff. Yeah,
That
I
was-
remember that. I was on the helicopter with him, sitting next to him.
Yeah,
That's when the round kind of just, the AK just kind of flopped in
yeah.
and kind of went under the skin on his head, but he wasn't hurt bad.
He wasn't, I wondered, because I never saw him. He was taken to Kuchi, never saw him. He never, never.
Yeah, I
never
remember
heard
that.
another- So you think he survived that wound then?
Yeah, the bullet, it just was at the end of its trajectory and it just came in through the side of the Huey and it just kind of lobbed right under the skin on the side of his head. He really wasn't even sure for a second.
Oh, there's the map. Yeah. Oh, by the way, that map has Dookway in the wrong place. The camp was really right here. The center of the camp would have been right about where the little arrow is. That circle needs to be moved over.
Where?
Right. Do you see my arrow?
I can't see your eye. I see my cursor.
Okay. Where the hand is, that was the very center of the camp.
There's a little looks like a little lake or something over here.
That little lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lake beside. Yeah,
The north point
the
of
lake
the
outside the wire.
It was right there.
Yeah, the northernmost point of that star stuck out into that little projection in the lake. That was where the star began, at the north end, and it took up most of that white, that area there that no buildings around. Of course, there weren't any buildings of any kind when we were out there. And there was a little triangle-shaped fort that was down here. I don't know, you can't see my arrow, but it was down there where you got Dookway marked. Somebody marked Dookway. There was a little triangular shaped fort. I think we just called it the French fort. It's Don Bent. That's what Don Bent means, is a little fort. And the Don Bent was a little triangle fort that had been there long before Dookway camp was there. But as far as I remember, nobody ever went near it because we were afraid it had booby traps or mines or something around it. So all of us avoided. When the patrols came and went, they went around one side or the other. They never went through that camp. And the ambush took place out here on the left side of the map at where it says Jean Trambach Jean here, right about where your hand is. I don't know whose hand that is, but that's about where the ambush took place. But that patrol had gone out to the north, up here in the north, and had gone around in an arc like that. So I understand. And they went just where your hand is going there. And then down into that area, that Bung Da Yang area, and that's where they got ambushed. And that was a remarkable event. Now, somebody wrote, I see some text over here on the side here. That sounds like one of the reports I wrote.
That's when Grix was killed.
Where did you get this report?
From the Mopsum from that month.
Oh, so you're reading from the Mopsum. That's what I have in my possession in Austin. Yeah, that Mopsum was whoever wrote it attempted to sort of minimize. At first they reported that 30 something were killed and 45 missing, but they weren't missing, they were all dead. all of those men were dead except for the 12 that were captured. And that was a terrible event.
What year was this?
That was on December the 10th, 1967.
Oh, okay.
The camp had, if I remember right, the camp had opened the last day of October 67 when they moved a couple of companies from Hiep out to Dukway. And then as time went on, they added more companies in there. One of the companies was a company of Cambodians, and that was the 377 company that was out on that patrol that got ambushed. And so all of those people that were killed were Cambodian ethnic group. They were from down in Four Corps, but they were serving in Camp Dukway. But you remember that back at the B team, the major who commanded the Vietnamese LLDB, he was a Cambodian officer, one of the very few in all of Vietnam.
His name was Tu Ta Tien.
Tac Tien, yeah, Tac Tien, THACHTHIEN, Utah
Right.
Tac Tien. Kind of alliterative, Utah Tac Tien.
Yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. Anyway, good.
When I got there, in I don't know, October, November '68, there were KKK at the camp. Khmer, Kampuchea, Chrome.
Uh-huh.
The B team had Commercerai.
Commissary, yeah.
Commercerai? Okay,
Yeah,
Commercerai.
commissary. They were free, that means free Cambodians.
And so our team, and then I learned later on, they did, they did well. I mean, they adopted me as a honorary member of the KKK. They made me a KKK flag and put a big number 1 underneath the KKK. I don't know if you ever saw their battle flag. It was a red, white, and blue flag that they wore around their neck with KKK on it in white, big white letters. And so they put the number 1 under that KKK for me, and I had to wear it when I went out on operations with them. Which I was happy about that, but I also knew that the LLDB and the CIDG weren't too particularly happy that I was wearing that KKK flag around my neck.
No, they weren't too popular with the LLDB.
John, I have a question for you. Dave Balanoff. I think I was talking about you had problems with the LLDB. You found their corruption and stuff, and then when the whole thing went through, you were the XO of the team, right? And you got removed. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I was
Yeah.
there then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our CO's name was Cobb. That keeps coming into my head.
Oh, I'll tell you who it
Richard
was.
Cobb, Richard Cobb.
Yeah.
Well,
And you were there with Bradley Sutter too.
Sutter, that was his name.
Yeah.
Sutter.
I was with Sutter also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so was I.
yeah, before you joined us, John, when I was giving my little talk, we talked about the corruption with the LLDB, and I said the XO got transferred. I didn't remember.
Yeah, because
You were a lieutenant,
they
right?
threatened me.
First
Yeah,
lieutenant?
I went to Traku from there.
Yeah, but you were first lieutenant there, right?
Yeah, I was a new first lieutenant.
Right,
And-
okay.
Yeah, that was a dangerous situation I got myself into because that Daiwi look was threatening me, and the word went from him somehow or other.
Went
back
all the way
to-
up and then came all the way down to you.
Yeah, it came all the way down, and they realized that they might do me in, so they just moved me to Traku.
Yep, I was there then. Yeah, I was a little guy that they
Yeah,
brought in.
I was glad to get out of there. I'll tell you that.
Well,
Yeah, that was.
we had a problem also with the LLDB, specifically the team leader there for the LLDB. As you know, we provided the money, monthly pay, and we give it to the LLDB, and they would actually make the pay. Well, at some point, I guess in '69, we got the word that the CIDG were, becoming pissed off. We didn't know initially what it was. And then finally our intel came back that they were getting shortchanged on their pay. And so come to find out that the LLDB team sergeant was shorting them. So we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create our own supermarket. We're going to bring the food in and we're going to make the pay. And so we took the payment away from the LLDB. And when that happened, the word came back to us that the team sergeant had put the word out in the camp among the CIDG that if there were any VC there, it was okay for them to take a pot shot at us. And up until that time, we didn't wear our weapons when we were in camp. We didn't go about our business within the camp with weapons. But from that point on, we had to at the very minimum, have our sidearm, with us. And it just was a strange time that, now within our own camp, the damn LLDB is telling VC it's okay to take a shot at us. I mean, so that's the kind of stuff we had with the LLDB. Now we also had I shouldn't say my partner and I on operations, Darryl Lynn. I don't know if any of you guys know Lynn, but Lynn was my partner, and he was the team leader. I'm not team leader. I'm sorry. He was the team sergeant, and he and I went on operation. He had adopted me. He was from New England, and I was from New England, and so he put me under his wing, which I was really happy that happened when I came to the camp. And so I never forget. It was again sometime in '68, late '68, maybe early '69. He and I on the way out to the border. I got it. I'm on computer audio. And we had just given out the M16s to the CIDG. They had been complaining from the time I got there that they were being outgunned because they had carbines. And so we had gotten in the 16s and, taken them out to the range and gotten them qualified to the extent that we could. And so this is the first time that our particular patrol was going out with them, me and Lynn. And we got out to the border. And I say we got out to the border. I don't know. We got within closer than a click, maybe a click to the border. And all of a sudden the patrol stopped. The column stopped. And we're like, Lynn and I was like, what the hell's going on? All of a sudden, we see the doggone column had turned around from the front and started marching back past us, back towards the team. They had rebelled. They said they weren't going any further. And so, there's only two of us, nothing we could do. We couldn't get the LLDB to stop them. So we just fell in behind them all the way back to the team. By the time we got back to the team had called, Captain Bradley, our team leader, had called Kuchi for gunship support. And so there were two gunships waiting for them. That was a beautiful sight. Two gunships waiting for them. Rose up on each side of the camp as they approached the gate. And we made them stack weapons. And once we found out who the leaders were of that rebellion, we got them out of the camp. We didn't have anything else. We didn't have any other rebellions. But those were the interesting times at Duke Way.
Hey Lou, was that Cambodians or Vietnamese?
No, those were CIDG. No, our Cambos were good.
Yeah, a little later we had two companies of Vietnamese and one company of Cambodians. That's what I was asking. CIDG. This is Hal Miller. We met before.
Yeah, hey, how are you doing, man?
Good, thanks. You're looking good.
Hey, look, I'm glad you're on board because just as an aside, fellas, Howell is the editor of the magazine for, what is that, 58? What
Chapter 78. Yeah, the
78.
Sentinel.
And that magazine, man, it's dynamite. I've still got it up on my computer because of all of the information that was there. Very, very good. Very, very
Well, thank
good.
you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now that I've got everybody's contact information, or will have, I'm going to send you out the electronic version, and I'm going to send you back copies of May and June of last year. I was there during the Cambodian incursion, and so I wrote about it. And there's actually 3, one about SOG doing stuff. And I'll go ahead and send that to you guys, and I think you'll enjoy it because it includes the Dukway participation in the Cambodian incursion. And I'm sorry that it looks like we don't have Joe Tylis here because he was featured in it. Looks like can you guys see me?
It was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Yeah, I see.
Well, I just got a different screen. I have a touch screen and I just touched something. Anyway, I'll keep talking. So anyway, so the one chapter of that is about what we did. The next one was about the broader picture of, who did what and what SF participation was and CIDG. And then the next one was about a SOG operation in Cambodia where they set up an A-team during the event. Damn, I wish I could see you guys. I no idea where to go here.
So were you out there and what was it, May or April 70 when the Cambodian invasion took place?
Okay, so in April, the end of April, the Arvin and whoever they had with them swept through the Parrot's Peak coming from the south, and then there was another incursion from the north, from Chain Inside, north of the Angels Wing. So after they had cleared through, then we hella assaulted, if you will, and we took over, and we went to, you guys, I don't know if you heard while you were there of Batu. We were actually able to see that from the tower. So we went in and we occupied Batu and stirred some stuff up there. And we found a whole shitload of, weapons and stuff. And since I was the medic and things were in control and everything, I didn't have anything to do when I was over there, more or less. And they said, okay, what, like to blow some shit up? I said, yeah. And so I was in charge of blowing up all the bunkers that they had full of stuff after they took out the stuff that they wanted.
Hey,
They
how
had concrete bunkers there.
Those weren't.
Where did the incursion go across at? Was it up by Khartoum, or was it below that between Khartoum and Traku? I mean, just at what point did that incursion take place?
Okay, so it actually occurred across the whole arc, and from the bottom of two corps, the whole arc around Chain In, and they actually came in from the southern part of that too. It was all of the Cambodian border. There was different things happening. The Navy got involved. There was a lot of things. Okay, and you should read the article, and it kind of explains it. It's got good map and diagrams and stuff. But at the end of April is when the Vietnamese went through by themselves, and then starting on the 1st of June, different units at different times went into different places along the border. The leg units, and including an airborne, 1 or 2 airborne units. And then there was a number of A camps that were involved, and CIDG attached to the leg units, or the main line units, I should say. But we just went in to with a contingent from Traku. We had a 2-camp operation at and around Batu, Cambodia. We secured the area, blew stuff up. We had a significant engagement with, I guess they were NVA, at the beginning of that. But once that was over with, then we were just kind of hanging around and
So what
finding
were
stuff.
what unit were you in at that time?
I was with A-325. I was a junior medic.
Oh, it was still there. I'm surprised. I thought
Well,
it
this
had
is-
been established.
Well, like she was asking, and Lou mentioned, it was in December that we the camp got turned over to the Vietnamese, the CIDG new thing. It was the Rangers, border Rangers, I think they called them. So they were training them on different things for them to take over the camp when I left in September of 70. And in December, they turned it over.
Hey, Howard,
Yes.
when I was at Duquay in 68, there was a lot of talk about POWs being held at Batu. Did you guys ever see any kind of evidence of that?
No, when we get in there, there was all we saw is a bunch of dead buffaloes and some, that they and I don't think there was any human bodies there right at the time, but it was clear there had been some action, and we just went in to basically, secure the area and to dig stuff up. However, the NVA didn't particularly appreciate that, so they came back and gave us a nice welcome. Anyway,
So how, Batu, where was that relative to
okay.
the BT? Where was
Picture the
Batu relative
Parrot's
to
Beak.
B-32 or relative to Khartoum? Where was that? Where was the location relative? Let's say to Khartoum, 322.
No, I don't know. I don't know where that
Khartoum
was.
was up north of the fish hook.
Okay,
The
all right.
Batu was due west of the camp of Duquay.
Exactly. Okay, so the Parrot's Beak,
Right.
and then on that map you had there, I couldn't quite make it out, but the Parrot's Beak. Okay, so you got the Parrot's Beak coming down here, and then up here was the Angel's Wing, and our camp was right about right there. So it was actually on the Parrot's Beak part.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
were to
really?
go straight in from the Parrot's Beak, right there. There's a road that came down from, I can't think of the name of the place there, but which we did go up there and do some stuff. But I found this out from research when I was doing for the article, and Steve helped me out a whole bunch on that.
I'm looking forward to reading those articles, Howell, because, my whole time there, as I was telling the guys before you came on, we were getting, 122s every night. We was getting mortared every night. We got a PT-76 shooting at us. We got an airplane coming out of there, photographing the camps over. And plus, from our tower, we could see the fortifications on the other side of the border.
Yep.
You go up and down, you can see them actually fall out for formation.
Exactly, I remember that.
Yeah. So we were always I should say I was always very interested in what was found when you guys went over this. So
Sure, yeah,
it was articles.
It was just like a strip village, just houses on each side of this one road going through. I remember this one place we stopped at had this huge well, a big square well about 10 feet on each side. And we got there just before the rainy season started, and that thing had been pretty empty, and it filled up when the rainy season started. Went up about 8 feet. I remember that. But there were some houses. There was what do we got here?
Oh, that's a dog's face there.
Okay, Tinyan.
Got to go south a little more.
Oh, that's the dog's face. Yeah, exactly. Go down south a little. That's right. That's
This is
something I learned doing my research, that's what the dog's face was.
Yeah, a little south, a little more still.
Tinyan was what? What was Tinyan? 832 what?
I don't
Pinyon
know.
was B-33, I think.
Tinyon
Katoon
was-
was 322.
Can you zoom out a little bit, Steve? Oh, this is. That looks like the Angel's Wing. Yeah. Okay. There you go. And you see where the camp is? That's roughly where it was. And all right. So you see where that 23 degrees or whatever that is right there?
Yep. Yep.
It was from
Right
there
there.
south, from there south to maybe the line, maybe to the blue line. And then,
And that was Parrot's Peak down the bottom there, right?
yeah, that's the Parrot's Peak where where the number 6 is
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that was kind of like the hub of activity, right around where that 23 is.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought it was up by Katoon.
I'm not
They
sure
did
where
a second
Katoon was.
incursion up there.
Are you talking about Batu?
Katoon.
Batu, Bathu.
Yeah,
I don't think it's on here.
no, it's a little farther south on the Parrot's Beak, just another half an inch down here.
Yeah, I could
And
see
you
it.
see-
You see something said
just
Batu?
right along that road there is what I always, I've got it
Okay,
overlaid somewhere.
I just saw Batu.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
but it was on the
Yep.
Cambodian side of the border.
Yeah, it's in Cambodia. Yeah.
Yeah, right in there. That's where the overlays that I saw.
Oh, Batu.
was.
No, that's not. It wasn't
Yeah,
there.
that's
It
on the
was further
east
in.
side.
It
Yeah, it
was
was a
further
little
in,
to the
about where
left.
that Sanma or so forth. In that rough area.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, right there. In general, okay. I don't see the road. Oh, okay. So is that road? Yeah, I'll show you the maps when we got there. But yeah, we did go up as far as Fumchuk or something like that, I think. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Steve. But so we were there until almost the end of June.
Yeah,
There's Batu right there.
There's Batu.
Oh,
Batu.
very good.
Batu 1.
Yeah, right next to that Samrang. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, and if I go east, I should hit toward Duckway, somewhere around here.
It's back to the west,
Yeah, back to the left.
due west.
Go out.
That's over by.
Yeah, Dukwah was over on. Oh, here we go.
Dukway.
Inwa.
Well, somebody mentioned Lieutenant Sutter,
I did, yeah.
and is that you, David? Is that
Yeah.
you? Was telling about him?
Bradley
Now,
Sutter, yeah.
yeah, now I remember him, and now I'm a little confused. There was a guy named Davis, Lieutenant Davis.
Exactly.
Good guy.
Yeah.
He was a good guy.
Him-
Everybody liked him.
Yeah, and then Wunsch showed up.
And then Wunsch came out there.
And
That's
those two
the guy.
guys did not like each other.
No, they didn't. And
They got in a little bit of a frag fight.
yes, yeah.
What
I
was,
saw-
what was that name? Was it Wunsch?
Yeah, Paul Wunsch, I think. He was a butter bar. And anyway, I went to the Mike Force. I left, I think, in June. And I went to the Mike Force from Dukway. And later on, both those lieutenants followed me down there. They were in the S3 or S2 or something. And they still didn't like each other down there.
Well, the way what I was related to me is Davis, and he got into a big argument, and Davis fired his M16 and in front of Wunsch, and the
Oh, yeah.
bullets hit in the mud there, right outside the team house there.
Yep.
Where those bullets had hit in that soupy mud that was there, and that was kind of a craziness. That's when they pulled Wunsch out of there. I don't know where they sent him.
The Mike
When was
Force
it?
and
I
B-36.
I had to go out and replace. I had to go out and be the XO, and Davis became the capo. Not
Yeah.
that we had any civilians there to do any capoing with. that was just a nonsense designation. Civil affairs. There weren't any civilians anywhere there. But I had to replace. In effect, I replaced Wunsch and Davis. Now, Davis, the guy everybody liked him.
He was at Treku first. And when they got that big attack there, and then he came over to Duke Way.
Yeah, that
And,
was in April
yeah.
68.
yeah, he was there while I was there.
Okay, it's not the same Wunsch I was thinking of, because he was there when I
There-
left.
Well, they said there was two.
Two
Steve
Wunches.
was saying there were two Wunches.
Yeah.
This
Well,
guy
what
was,
was
the
this guy's
second one.
first name, if you remember?
Paul was the one you're talking about now.
yeah, Paul
Yeah.
Wunsch was the one.
It wasn't Paul.
Yeah.
He was spelled differently, and he was later. But Davis,
Yeah.
fine. The Davis was there in 1970. He wasn't there earlier than that.
Well, that's not the same Davis then.
Yeah, because we had a Davis there, blonde-haired
He-
kid.
Find that Davis.
There were, and when I came out there to replace Wunsch, this guy, there was a Captain Smith, and this guy, he was the camp commander, or maybe he came out there immediately after I got there. But in any case, he was the camp commander for most of the rest of the year. He was not a special forces guy. at
Right,
all.
he was a straight leg.
Yeah, he was a
He
straight leg
wasn't
guy.
special. Yeah. Why
I
did
don't
they
know how he
send him
got
out
in
there?
I don't know where he came from, but he was a Mormon. Nothing wrong with Mormons, but he was trying to
everybody.
convert those CIDG. So
Oh, no kidding.
No, I don't think he succeeded, but it just lent a craziness to the whole camp. And there was a mortar round, an 81 millimeter mortar, a 60 millimeter mortar round that was in the burnout can right by the team room. Do you remember that, David?
We had the Fort Deuce right outside the kitchen door.
Right outside the back kitchen door.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but in the front, somebody had somebody also had pulled the pin on a grenade and stuck it in that mud, that soupy mud that was right by the little walkway there, where we had to walk by that grenade, and nobody would remove the grenade. It just sat there waiting until the mud got soft enough it would go off, but it never went off while I was there. And then there was a mortar round that was in the burnout can. It was right outside the front of the team house, and that engendered a kind of a craziness there at Dookway. Then that was magnified when the CIDG shot the dogs. Dookway
Yeah.
shot the dog.
Studley was the name of the dog.
And people all of us in the camp kind of went crazy. They went crazy. They armed themselves and put on their web gear, and they even put on their flak jackets and went out trying to find the guy who shot the dog. And it really created a kind of an emergency. I went in the team room, called back to the B team and said, you better get ready to do something, because this could get bad, real fast. If they
I mean, this is interesting about having a team leader that was a leg.
I don't know how he did it.
I mean, because if I was in a bar with someone and they said, yeah, I was a team leader out at A-325, and I was non-jump qualified, and I would have lost a lot of money, because I damn sure would have bet on that. That wouldn't have happened. So how did that? Nobody ever found out how that happened.
He had been with an infantry division somewhere for a year or two beforehand, and then he extended his tour. Now, when you extended your tour, two things happened. You could choose where you wanted to go. You had more leeway. You could say, I'll stay on here if you'll send me to the special forces. And so somebody gave into that, and they let him go. They'd never been to any training of any kind. And of course, it didn't matter, because no training mattered out at Dookway. Nothing mattered out at Dookway.
So how did the team receive that?
Mental hospital might have been all right.
How did the team receive that?
Pardon me?
Well,
how did the team receive that individual?
David, tell him how that went.
Not very well. I mean, he was acted like he was a leg captain and had no knowledge of special forces. He tried to be by the book, and as you know, we weren't exactly by the book.
No.
And he would leave religious stuff all around the team house. He would leave Bibles here and this there. I'll tell you what, between that and Roberts having to leave because of the corruption, I was sick of being an advisor. I couldn't take it. I was getting an upset stomach. That's when I volunteered for the Mike Force. And I went down to Long High. Down there, at least we were in charge. We weren't advisors.
Yeah,
And
good
so
for
it
you.
was a lot better. And as the team intel sergeant at the time, you were talking about, VC and stuff. I tried to set up a bit of a spy network because the guy before me had done it. And we had a real cool interpreter there. This guy was really good. He was a lawyer in civilian life. I can't remember his name, but he turned me on to a few people. And by the time we were done, we figured at least 25% of the CIDG were Viet Cong. They would come in and it was like R&R for them. They'd come into the camp under whoever sent them in and recruited them. They'd get new uniforms and they'd get new guns and new everything. And then they'd stay. And all of a sudden, a month or two later, they were gone. And that's what kept happening the whole time, that we were there yeah. And somebody earlier was talking about the Khmer Sarai. That's who we used in Long High on the Mike Force. They were all recruited by the Khmer Sarai. And we had Cambodians and we had a battalion of Chinese and a battalion of Vietnamese. They all hated each other. We had to have separate interpreters
It's
for
always the way
everybody.
it was.
Did you ever go
They
to
hated
that,
each other.
the
And
Khmer
we all had
Sarai?
we had to have separate interpreters to talk to each one of those. It was fun, I'll tell you.
The Khmer Sarai had a pagoda there in Saigon that was their territory. That the Vietnamese didn't set foot in there. I don't know how I made a trip there one time, but I was invited to come into their pagoda area. And that's where their monks, they're kind of their spiritual leaders, held out. But what impressed me was they had a big room there in ossuary where they had the bones of all the Cambodians who were killed. They had to be burned. The Vietnamese could be buried, but the Cambodians had to be cremated. And their bones, whatever was left of them, after cremation, they were collected and taken to this ossuary and set on the shelf there. So there was a room full of hundreds of dead Cambodians in there. These were not KKK. These were not Khmer Krom Kampuchea. They were a different group. But Khmer Sarai, I think the Khmer Sarai became the nucleus of the Folro. I mean, of the ones who went of the Cambodian army that was trained by Fank.
Thanks. Yeah, right. And the KKK, in my investigations, it seemed like they had some affiliation with some of the communist stuff. I can't remember. I can't remember the exact details right now. But
on William Smith, he had come in country in May of '67. He didn't get to the camp until May of '68, which seems to validate the fact that he had a 1 year tour with somebody else.
Yeah.
And his new Diros was actually all the way into '69. But his new Diros was December of '68. So from May to December was his time with SF.
What was his name? William Smith?
Yeah, William L. Smith. He came into country. His last day in the United States was 11 May '67. He came to 351 4 May '68. That goes with a year of being somewhere else. And then his zeros was 8 December '68. But he was, however, listed here as 7/15/42 is his primary MOS. That's a jump status. He had a duty MOS of 3/15/42.
That's
so
right.
If he
that
was
was
weapons,
duty.
was that weapons?
No, that's
officer,
1542 is infantry officer.
Yeah.
71542 was parachute infantry officer, and 31542 was special forces
right
infantry officer.
He was a parachute officer.
Yeah, he was parachute qualified, but he wasn't special forces guy.
He was allowed to have the SF MOS because he served JT as a camp commander.
Did he have a beret?
Oh yeah, he wore a beret.
He got 3. He wore a
He
beret.
didn't wear them in the camp. I don't remember ever wearing a camp beret the whole time I was over there, to tell you the
As
truth.
far as he was jump qualified in Vietnam, and he was assigned an SF slot, he could wear a beret.
That's right. I think he made a parachute jump out there at Dong by 10 or somewhere, and to qualify him for 7 on his MOS.
Hey, Lou,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Thought you were
that
done.
guy was kind of a weird dude. I ran into him in Saigon. I was being transferred from somewhere to somewhere, and I ran into him at the Cholan PX, and he wanted me to go with him to the Mormon Center there in Saigon. Actually, I ran into him twice. He almost insisted that I go with him to the Mormon Center there, and I didn't want to waste any of my time in Saigon going to the Mormon Center. I wanted to go down to the Bar Center.
Tudo Street.
On the other side of the street. Yeah.
Tudo Street. That's where
Tudo Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tudo Street, yeah.
Never had the pleasure. Hey, Lou, I wanted to ask you, at the reunion we had in 2015,
Right,
Bill, the old captain, I can't remember his last name right at the moment. What's his last name?
Bradley.
Bradley. Yeah. Okay. When he mentioned something about they had trained up a company of Cambodians that they got all their stuff. They were acting like they didn't really need it or whatever. But anyway, and they just all deserted. They just took off and went into Cambodia to fight. Was that while you were there or before?
No,
or-
that must have been after I left. Well, no, it wasn't after I left because surprising to us, one day, folks came up from Nha Trang and started doing lie detector tests for the KKK.
Oh,
Yeah, and then that next day, they let them all go. And that was one of the things I was asking Bill about Bradley when we had our reunion. If he remembered what was the reason, because we didn't have any problem with them. They were doing good with us.
yeah, you were doing good with them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hell yeah. Given the way the CIDG was acting, no question about that. But
Oh, great.
so yeah,
There you go.
I'm going to take a picture of that. Is that all right with you if I take a picture of it?
Oh, that's what it was. They were pro Sihanouk. That's what it was. And he was kowtowing to the communists.
Yeah, the Khmer Rouge, they didn't like Sihanouk.
Right.
The Khmer Rouge.
Here's the circumstances. Prior to the April 1970 so-called coup. All right, first of all, if you really think about it, it wasn't a coup. Sihanouk told Lon Nol he was going to go to France and get the cure, which means he was to screw around in France. Lon Nol takes over the government, invites the Americans to come in, do whatever they want to do, get rid of the communists in the country, and then Sihanouk would come back. And that's the plan was. People who were there, who tell me in 1963, Lon Nol wouldn't take a dump without Sihanouk's permission. Also, he had Lon Nol send a message to Sun Nak Tan for the Khmer Rouge in 1969 to ask if he turned on the communists in Cambodia, would Sun Nak Tan stab him in the back or would he support him? And Sun Nak Tan responded that he would support him. And the problem was that when the so-called coup happened, the people in Phnom Penh just did what they usually do, which is go kill off all the Vietnamese shopkeepers and dump them in the Mekong. That didn't work out too well because Sihanouk's wife was Vietnamese and she wasn't terribly happy about it. So things got out of a plan. But the worst part about it was in the United States, they got all bent out of shape because they said we're having a wider war in Cambodia. It's all Nixon's fault. And how do you have a wider war if you have 100,000 North Vietnamese soldiers in Cambodia? So Nixon was told by Congress that if he stayed in Cambodia, they were going to pass the Cooper Church Amendment and cut off his funding. So he said, okay, I will leave after a certain amount of time. He didn't do what he was expected to do, which was just go drive the Vietnamese out. And they went in there. They did not have a plan. It was a surprise to everybody in the United States government. There is nobody who could say that anybody knew in advance what was going on. And if you want to have proof of that, the director, Dep Comus MacVie for Chords in the 1970 command history said, well, 70 was a pretty good year. There was a really surprising event that happened in Cambodia. Now, that wouldn't be very much of a statement, except that person happened to be Bill Colby. If anything was a surprise in Southeast Asia to Bill Colby, he didn't know about it. That was a surprise. There were three main political parties in Cambodia in the mid-60s. Sa Dak Tan has Khmer Sarai, KKK were really in four corps, and the other people were sort of kind of like the early version of the Khmer Rouge. And when the coup happened, the New Zealand communist who was hanging around with Sihanouk and writing a book about it said they already had Mike forces in Cambodia when the coup happened. That was not true. They had Phu in there because Phu was under Sihanouk's control at that time. So there were Montagnards guarding public buildings in Phnom Penh, but they were not Americans, or not Mike Force. And the Mike Force didn't go there until almost 2 months later. About June, they started leaving the Mike Force and getting transported to Phnom Penh. And the ones from 4 Corps were KKK. The ones from 3 Corps were KKI. So
now, Steve, the KKK, did they go into? Were they participate on that Cambodian invasion, or did they not?
No, the Vietnamese from the Mike Force were shipped there en masse about 2 months after everything started. They were the 3 Corps Mike Force and the 4 Corps Mike Force just took those companies, put them on an airplane with guns, and sent them to Cambodia with their acquiescence. They wanted to go.
Yeah. They become part of the Cambodian army.
Yes, part of the Cambodian army. And the Cambodian
army. The reason why I asked Steve is because
started training. They sent battalions to Vietnam to train. And in fact, the Mike Force in 3 Corps and 4 Corps changed at the end of 1970 to be a training unit for Cambodian forces.
Well, what happened, do you suppose, to those forces after the Khmer Rouge took over?
They got killed.
You think they were all executed? Either.
Yeah,
most of them probably.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and either killed in fighting or executed if captured.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yep.
And
I wonder if any of them made their way back to Vietnam.
Some did, and some of them made it out of the country. I have a friend here who was the guy who was Son Ngoc Than's one of his lieutenants, who went to talk to La Nol back in '69. And there's a Cambodian faction over here in the United States.
Well, there's a faction of the KKK here.
Both Khmer Sarai and KKK.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, it's funny, during all that Cambodian that massacre of all those people, nobody here in the U.S. was paying a bit of attention. Nobody sympathized with them. The newspapers, the reporters didn't say anything about it, just ignored it.
A lot of people, like a guy named Gareth Porter and some French people, all kinds of people reporting that it was false rumors. The Khmer Rouge were not killing anybody. The Khmer Rouge were nothing until the Americans stalled their movement into Cambodia. And therefore the Vietnamese organized them, funded them, pushed them up to the forefront and developed their capabilities. But they were a nothing organization. If Nixon had just gone into Cambodia and just swept through Cambodia, bing, there'd be a much different outcome in this thing, and he would have no trouble having to have done so.
Where
Yeah,
are these contingents,
million
where are
people-
these contingents of the Cambodians located now here in the United States?
My friend who sort of leads the Khmer Sarai part is here in Houston, but I think the bulk of the people are out there in like California somewhere. There are different ethnic groups around, like we were talking about the Hmong from Laos up in Minnesota, and the Montagnards in North Carolina. They've got their own little communities there.
There's in California, Orange County, there's both
That's
a
mostly
little Cambodia and a little Saigon.
I don't know about the Cambodia part. Certainly, the little Saigon is a big thing.
There's quite a contingent of Cambodians in Long Beach as well. Which
Long
is,
Beach, that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
But this chart is part of a history of the fifth group that was done in 1970. And when I went into the archives looking for documents, I got part of this history, but I never got D Company. And I could never, and there were a couple other parts I didn't get. And finally, I was able to find out that D Company was separated from the rest of it because it was top secret, where the rest of it was only secret. And it took a while to get it declassified. But the reason it was classified different than A Company or B Company is because of this chart. Any mention in the 70s about Cambodia was about, really verboten. The State Department always thought, 60s and 70s, they always thought that they could make some new deals with Cambodia. And they were very nervous whenever anything about Cambodia was up. You could talk about Laos, you could talk about lots of things, but you couldn't talk about Cambodia. Otherwise, it was top secret. So
Well, it should have been ashamed that we abandoned them like that.
Came to abandoning the Vietnamese. And in 1972, we had done what we needed to do. We could have done it again. And in fact, the senior officer in South Vietnam, American officer with a DAO, General H.D. Smith, said up to 30 days before the fall of Saigon, we could have changed the outcome.
Sounds
I'd
like
like to ask if
Afghanistan, doesn't
anybody
it?
knows what became of Colonel John Hayes.
He
Rapid fire, rapid
a few years ago in Virginia. I spoke to him at that time. He was full of enthusiasm. I have not attempted to reach him, and in 2 years, lots of things change. If anybody wants to call him, contact me after this is over. I'll give you the phone number, and you can see what happened.
He's
He was
still
in
alive,
Virginia.
huh?
I haven't checked since that particular time, but he's an interesting character with a lot of history.
He had an XO there at Benoit. It was a bit strange. I can't remember his name, but they made fun of him a lot. I can't remember who it was. I was at the Benoit for just a few weeks, but
I don't know about you guys, but the B team during the time I was there, Colonel Hilling, Harry S. Hilling, was the CO, and Williams was the XO, and the B team was excellent. I mean, we would go up for R&R. Whenever we got a chance. The team had revolving R&R for the guys. When I say R&R, I mean R&R in country to the B team. And you go up there for a couple of days.
That's not R&R.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, you weren't getting shot at. I mean, you weren't getting any 122s in.
That's true. That's true.
And they had a nice bar, and they had nice entertainment at the bar.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, it was.
They had a bar with one bar stool, if I remember right. Maybe two.
So now, we're speaking relatively, relative.
Yeah. I understand.
The main thing they had toilets. They had flush toilets.
Yes. And showers. Real
Nobody had to
showers.
burn the shit. What?
There at Dookway, as I remember, we had a little burnout stand, an outhouse, you might say, with a burnout tub under it. But the Vietnamese kept coming over there and going in there, and they'd stand on the seat and crap down on the toilet seat. So we had to put a lock on it. Remember that? You had to put a lock on the door of the outhouse. And so if you had to go real bad, which you often had to do, the way we were eating out there, you had to find that key and run out there to that outhouse and get it unlocked in time to keep from crapping in your pants.
So how many of you had the privilege of burning this shit?
I think I burned it once or twice.
Oh, that was a distinct pleasure. Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, we had a little one-story building. That Dookway camp originally was supposed to have about about 10 or 12 more or less permanent wooden hooches that were supposed to be built. They never got built because the CIDG burned up all the wood for fire and for cooking fires. So most of those buildings during my time, they had never been built, but one of them was built inside the Pentagon. There was one building that was where all the rice was stored. And if you remember, the rice had to be distributed so many bags per week to the CIDG. So it would come in by the chopper, and then that old dumpy truck we had, there was an old deuce and a half there. It was like a big ball of mud, just covered with mud, and it had wheels, but it was enough to get that rice into that building. And that rice, the mice and the rats had discovered it, and they tunneled into it. They had tunnels. There was a whole civilization of rats that lived in there, and they crapped in that rice. And of course, by the time the rice was put on your plate, it was about 10% rat turd. So you didn't really eat much rice.
That was actually seasoning. It was pepper,
You guys had it pretty bad. I mean, it wasn't like that when I got there. It was a little more sanitary.
That's about all we had.
I got a quick question here. Lou keeps referring to Dookway as A-325, and when I was there, it was 351. So how did that evolution occur?
When the B team changed from B-35, when that closed down, it was put under the role of B-32 in Tay In. And as an A team under Tay In, it was a 3-2 number. The previous teams that had the 325 and 326 numbers had already shut down. So the teams were given those two numbers as duplicates. But I keep them to differentiate them. I keep them in that line, 351, 352, going to Traku and to Dookway. And the Baudon and the other team that was formerly 326, I had them separately.
You talked
Arredondo, Saul Arredondo looked like he was trying to get on here.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
His computer skills are not really, top rank. I called him up. He came up there for a bit. He heard you speaking, but he didn't know how to turn on his camera.
And there was somebody else's picture here who did
Joe Tyler.
That was
Joe Tyler.
And he sent his wife, or maybe he under his wife's name, sent a bunch of text messages referring to Howard Miller.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know,
Were they good or bad?
Yeah, Howard Miller, you were a medic, right?
Yes, I was.
So when you were there until the end of the camp, then
Actually, no, I left just before they turned it over. I was in September, and in December is when they
December of 69 or 70. I'm
70.
confused. 70.
Yeah.
God, I thought it was long gone. Huh.
No, and then they kept it for a while. And I saw a news report of them getting hit pretty hard by the NBA, you know, a couple of years later or something, before the end. I mean,
they were designated on 10/31/70, and it became the 83rd Border Rangers.
Okay.
And
Are you in the medical field now by any chance? Are you doing any?
No, I did. I thought I was a hot shot, and I decided to go back to school and try and go to med school, but I didn't make it. I ran into a little thing called organic chemistry and shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd do.
Anyway,
Good.
so I most of my career I've been outside sales, but I did work a year at Johns Hopkins Hospital. They were looking for former medics of, you know, any branch, and so I did that. And I ran into a guy from Traku. He was in the class too. Geez, don't tell me I can't. Ken Smith. Anyway, I actually ended up being his best man, and then a few weeks later I moved back to Boston, and I noticed.
How were you at Traku when Murphy was killed?
No, I wasn't. I was at Dookway, but I was saying that Ken was from Traku, and Traku joined us on our operation into Cambodia.
No, this was either 68, 69, late 68, early 69. He was an 05 Bravo. He was a commo guy.
Okay.
Named Murphy. He's on the database list that Steve provides. So he was there at Traku. I just didn't know if you were there at the same time.
No, I wasn't at. Yeah, I wasn't at Traku.
Oh, you weren't at Traku.
No. I just saying. I mentioned it a couple different times. Ken Smith was from Traku, and we ended up being good friends after the war. And Traku joined us to go into Cambodia.
Okay.
I have a picture of it because our helicopter came, you know, as our helicopter came in on the mail run that I was on from Kuchi or whatever, and then I was there for a few minutes, and then we went up to Dookway. But I had regarding Traku, does any of you remember Jack Sontag? Anybody named Sontag? Charles Sontag.
Yeah.
Somebody said he'd been there before. Okay. I haven't seen hide or hair of him or anything. He was he kind of took me under his wing when I was there.
He passed away in 2007.
Oh, it's too bad. Is he related to the General Sontag? Do you know?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Look, for your information, one of the problems of that Border Ranger thing was I thought that they were going to replace people with Ranger officers. They didn't. They left the same Vietnamese that were stealing money from the CIDG.
Oh, shit.
Each of the camps. And the only thing that happened was that the LLDB High Command was discarded. So they became part of the Ranger organization, and they didn't have to send money up to the B team and the C team to the High Command. Somehow this seems to have had an impact on their quality as officers, because without the American advisors that they had, and sometimes they had 3 or 4 American MACV advisors who usually didn't even stay in the camp at night. That was the only thing they had. They didn't have the support that we gave them with Caraboos flying in with goodies and money and everything they needed. But somehow they survived being far away from everything else that was out there. And I had somebody collect information on what happened to the camps. And you'll be happy to know that Duquay in March 27th of 74, successfully defended his camp against an NVA attack.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah. March 27, 74. Yeah.
So that's 4 years after that camp. Well, for 3.5 years after that camp was turned over. And there were still
Excellent.
So what you guys did had a lasting impact with those people in that camp.
Good. Thanks.
Well, the other thing too is that there was nowhere to run to.
That's true.
That was Duke Way, Taku. I mean,
Up in the river.
Nowhere to run to.
Tongleshan was under 7 months siege, and with thousands and thousands of rounds of artillery coming in during that whole period of time, and several major ground assaults. And at the end of that period of time, they evacuated the camp by stealth.
You're talking about Duquay in 74?
That was Tongleshan, which was 334, I think, or 334. That's another example of a camp that was in the middle of nowhere. It was isolated, but they got out in order. They E&E'd out of that camp after being under siege for many, many months.
Yeah. Were you at Tongleshan?
No. But
No.
As I said, I had somebody write up this article on, we studied what happened to each CIDG camp as best we could.
Yeah. I had a couple friends at Tongleshan.
Yeah.
And it was pretty rough there for those guys.
Next week or 2 weeks from this time, then the 332, 333, 334 will be the camps under with a zoo.
Yeah. I'd like, if I could get a chance, just go back again to Duquay between early 68 when John Roberts and Blake and I and a couple of and Mike Lake were there. So a couple of things. They're talking about that deuce and a half earlier. I think John was. And we had a funny story there. That deuce and a half would have to come in from after where the usually it wasn't Huey's. A lot of times the big stuff came in on the the Chinooks. But it got really stuck trying to get back into camp. So we rounded up a whole bunch of CIDG, and we had these ropes coming off the front and everything, getting set. I mean, I don't know how many people we had, but all the Americans were there. And we were pulling and pulling and pulling, and not that sucker didn't move an inch. Then we looked around, it was just the 6 of us pulling. The CIDG. So, yeah, we had
how to do it.
Yeah,
They were off, right?
that was one funny story. The other, when I was there and you other guys that we talked, that whole AO was called a free fire zone.
Right, exactly.
And so anybody, every so often we get, either gunships or F4s or whatever they were. They'd come by, and they'd call in. I guess they just had some extra ordnance they'd like to get rid of, and they just shoot up anything in the area, which was pretty cool. And somebody else was talking about the POW. When I was there, we were also, that was a time we thought that Batu, I guess, right due west of us there was a POW camp. It never got fully verified at the time. But then again, you're talking about the buildings at that time at Duquay. As intel sergeant, they showed me my office. It was a freaking Connex container. We had a row just north of the Four Deuce pit. There was like 3 or 4 or 5 Connex containers. And they opened it up for me and they showed me that was my intel office right there. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then after dinner, almost all the time, we'd go out into that Four Deuce pit and just throw out H&I. That was a lot of fun, We didn't even have to aim. We just kicked it out there.
Yeah.
I think Lieutenant Roberts, you'd remember that.
Yes, very well.
And Blake, I'm sure you, yeah.
And none of that stuff would ever go across the border, right?
No, oh, no, never, never. The Fort Deuce, actually, that one could reach. And you were talking about the tower. That's another fun thing, is we all had our little, if we got attacked, we had our little combat places we were supposed to go, whether it was to the mortar pits, and we rotated. And I remember one time I had the tower. So you had your M16 on top of you, around your back, and then they had this infrared scope that was about the size of 2 footballs or 3 put together. You had that over your neck, climbing up that damn ladder, and there was a 50 cal up there.
Yep.
And you were trying to look out through that infrared scope, just look for ground troops and stuff. That was a sitting duck. We did play around on that tower though one time. We threw, I think Blake and Roberts was still there. We throw some ropes off and do some rappelling practice and have a little bit of fun, So it wasn't all serious crap, we're SF, man. We could have fun anywhere, So
You
that's
talking
about
about
all.
that tower? I'm sorry. You
Go
done?
ahead. I'm done. I just had to kick that in.
I got a nice story about that tower too, but go ahead, Howard.
Okay, what I was going to say is that tower ended up on the front of Life magazine, or
No, really?
No.
yeah, our captain, Nowitzki, was at that time. He was up there in the tower talking to the camp actual CO, the LLDB, and somebody must have hung out like over the edge of the tower, or something. Took a picture of the two of them, and actually got my dispensary in the background. But anyway, so hey, we're on Life magazine. I think it was Life. If I find it, I'll.
What year was it, Howard?
So that would have been either late '69 or early '70.
Good, thank you.
Why, do you have access to those?
I'll find some way to
Oh,
get.
we'll find it. I'll look at all of them.
Yeah, because my favorite story about that tower, we called it the CMH tower. I don't know if you remember that, David. Handles, because you were a sitting duck up there.
Oh yeah.
Me and I believe it was Marty Frame, who was a commo guy.
I know Marty Frame.
Do you? Okay. Anyway, you know him, George? Oh. Anyway, we decided that we were going to, and me being the camp engineer, we dreamt up crazy ideas. And one of them was to take a rocket pod from a Huey and mount it on a rotating panel on the top of the tower so that we fire it if there's a ground attack. And so we got that thing all set up there and fired it off, and it all worked perfect, and we had a visiting general from MACV come out to inspect the camp. So we were going to demonstrate our weapon to him. All the CIDG were in that, that Half Moon Lake that was for the camp. They were all out there bathing in it, washing clothes and all that stuff. So we fired off one of those rockets. Those rockets, when they left the pods of the gunships, was not very. A lot of times they kind of burn unevenly and they zigzag and loop. Well, we fired this one off and loop-de-loop up in the air a couple of times and landed right in the lake where those people were bathing.
Oh, geez!
And it went off and it threw shrapnel in the hole. And right away, both of us, I think, got an Article 15 over it.
Whoa. Whoa.
Anybody get hurt?
Yeah, they got a bunch of them. They didn't get seriously injured, but they got peppered with shrapnel.
Yeah.
Nobody got seriously injured, but so my job as to pay off the Article 15 was to help McDonough. Mike Lake talked about McDonough pick shrapnel out of these people for months.
What kind of rocket was that you fired?
It was the rockets. Well, I'm trying to remember now. It was the rocket.
We had
rockets that were in the pods underneath the gunships.
Oh yeah, so it's not. I was thinking you were talking about. They sent a 3.5-inch old rocket launcher out there after Tet. After they found a tank up in Camp Longueuil, up way up in the north, and that scared the whole command. And so they sent these 3.5-inch rocket launchers out to the camp, but no ammunition. I don't remember. I don't think we had any ammunition for them. We had a
We had-
106 recoilless rifle out there.
Yep, I remember that. Mounted on a Jeep, wasn't it?
Was it a 106 or a 57?
And there was a 57 too. All I
Yeah,
remember
we used
that
to go off and
57,
talk.
it just
We'd
sat
go
there
out
on
in
the
that
berm.
field
We didn't
there.
have any ammo for it.
Yeah,
No,
we
we
had a
did.
57.
We had the 57 and we'd go out there by that pond. There were a couple of old trucks and old vehicles out there. And one day we fired off, I'm pretty sure it was the 57 millimeter recoilless, and it just evaporated that metal vehicle, whatever it was.
Now,
But-
now,
You couldn't
don't-
fire the 106 inside the camp. It would have torn down the whole camp. The only time I knew that firing it was I went with several people outside the camp down to where those ponds were, and we fired it down there. But even then, that's the loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. I didn't want to be anywhere near where that was going on. And
don't
that-
tell anybody, but one of the, when you're thinking of interesting things to do going out on operation, my partner and I, Lynn and I, mostly Lynn, was like, okay, we got these houses, we got this development on the other side of the border. I mean, it's right there. So we said, hey, let's take out a 57 with us and see if we can blow one up. And, I mean, that's how close it was. And so, okay, it sounded like an interesting idea. The only problem was I had to help my KKK guy carry that damn thing. And so out of the camp all the way out to the damn border, carrying that 57 with everything else you had, that turned out to be not a good damn idea. We never could hit anything on the other side of the border. So don't tell anybody we were shooting over there. But it sounded like a good idea at the time.
I don't think we fired that 4.2-inch mortar anywhere else. every round that left that muzzle went across the border.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey,
That
you're
was
talking
my-
a couple, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying you're talking a couple of funny things. First of all, that rocket that you went to did loop-de-loop and went at it kind of reminds me of grenade fishing.
Yeah.
You know how they
Nice
used to,
share of that.
the CIDG would throw a grenade in the half full of water bomb craters, and all those fish would just kind of float up to the surface, and hey, it's fish. Now I can't remember what the other one was. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but
We were talking about Marty Frame. It looks like at 353, he couldn't have been there very well, but at 351, he could be there.
Yeah, he was in
That's right.
the commo. He was in the commo check. You remember him, David?
A whole year,
I
What was his
remember
name?
him.
Marty
Marty
Frame.
Roland M. Frame. That's it.
Not to say he wasn't there, but I just,
April
don't remember.
April 67 to April 68.
Yep, I knew him.
Yeah.
The other team closed down in November of 67. So either he was there first or he wasn't there at all. Also, you mentioned Studley.
That was the dog.
Oh,
Studley is listed as the dog for A-353. And now
no, he was A-351.
No, he was at A-352 when I was there. There was two dogs. One was called VC and the other was called Studley.
Oh, they were at Dookway. They were Dookway dogs.
Dookway. Yeah.
Dookway had Studley. He was the big old dog. And
Yeah.
BC was a little tiny dog.
Yeah, puppy.
Somebody
Yeah.
had found him out in the field and put him in a flashlight. They told me they carried him back to the camp inside of a flashlight battery container.
wow.
And he was just little old tiny. He just walked around under Studley. Wherever Studley went, VC just walked right between his legs.
Yeah.
Was that a little female? Was that a little gray female girl?
Yeah.
too? Because we had a
Yellow.
okay. Because
little
we had a
dog.
gray one with some white on it and so forth, and it was called either Sally, and she would be our mortar alarm detector. So as
Cuddly
soon
little dog.
as they started firing, she would start running around in a circle and yapping away. And we said, "Oh, grab the shit, guys.
Studley,
We're gonna have
Studley was a
incoming.
good dog, but he didn't like Vietnamese.
What
Wherever
dog
that
did?
truck- and they got tired of getting bit by him. Finally, some of them shot him, killed him.
Yep.
And we
Oh,
put him on a stretcher and put him up on top of the combo bunker, the highest point in the camp. That was just a gesture of insolence to the Vietnamese. We shouldn't have done that, but we put him up there. And the next day he was buried down there on the helipad. You know where that, remember the choppers came in on the south
Dookway International Airport? Yeah.
at Dookway, yeah. He was buried out there. And I guess he was an unmarked grave.
Well, I have pictures. I have pictures of both of those dogs.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
really?
got some pictures of Studley.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
I have pictures of the dogs too. And the 3 kids that were the camp boys, the 3 boys that were there that helped out, helped the cook and helped us and stuff. I've got pictures
You
of all
know,
that
David,
stuff.
now I recognize you now more than ever. You know, your voice, I recognize your voice. And
A little bit of a back east accent. Yeah, I'm a little bald now. No hair now.
I think you were in that little group of about 4 of us that had some M72s lying around that were just waiting for an opportunity to use them over on the LLDB bunker.
Yeah.
Is that you? Were you one of them?
No, I don't think so, but
Yeah,
I could have been. I really didn't like
we
them.
were looking for an opportunity to have an accident there
Yeah, with the 4 Deuce or the
with
or
the
one of the other.
M72 law. You know, we wanted to.
Oh yeah, an M70. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We each of us kept a couple of those around in case the opportunity presented that we could clean up that mess. Of course, we'd all been in jail if we'd done that. Good thing we.
yeah.
But that's what I was saying before, that all those interactions with the LLDB is what kind of soured me pretty much. And that's why I
Oh,
put
man.
in, the bike force had come through one day. They were doing an operation and I can't remember all the guys, but they were pretty cool, I thought, and so that's why I put in to go
Well,
to Long High
CIDG
down.
were always complaining that, they brought in 2 pigs every week. And 2 pigs, I don't know how many ducks and chickens and cabbages and eels and stuff, brought leafy stuff. But the LLDB would take away those pigs and they would butcher them and sell them to the CIDG in what they called the Colac bow, which is really just a look.
Yeah.
That's what we called our club. Yeah. Colac bow. Yeah.
And they would cook it up and sell it to these guys. Now they already had all their money because when they got paid, the look would be, I'd pay them at one table and they'd walk on to another table and Diary Look's wife and his family would take all the money away from them because they owed it all to the Colac boat. I felt sorry for these guys. They got paid and the money was gone immediately.
Company store, huh?
Really
Yeah,
pissed.
that's
And some of them would come through twice to get paid. They come through once with one rifle with the serial number on it, with the and then they would go out and go around, get a haircut, put a bandana on, come back in through with somebody else's weapon, somebody who had deserted, and they'd want to get paid again. And that was put me in a bad spot because I didn't want to pay them, and if I didn't pay them, it might have caused no telling what. Might have been somebody might have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
And that was the environment. I couldn't stand it. We shouldn't have been involved in that crap with those people.
Right. There was one good lieutenant, Vietnamese lieutenant in that camp, and he was the artillery lieutenant.
Artillery guy, yeah.
He was a hell of a good
I
man,
agree.
and he hung out with us. And he took me over there one day, and he taught me how to fire the 105 and the 155s. I probably don't have any hearing nowadays because of that, but he was a good guy. And surprisingly enough, when we had to call in artillery out in the field, they were pretty damn good. I was very pleasantly surprised. Very
Well, you
pleasantly
remember he was in our team house talking with us, just chatting with us one night when a mortar round hit he had a Conex that he lived in over in the artillery book. He lived in this Conex. They had it all fixed up inside, but this mortar round hit it and destroyed it while he was over visiting us.
Good news and bad news, huh?
Good news was he wasn't in there. Yeah.
Now,
I'm sorry, Lou, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you how, well, I guess maybe Steve, did the LLDB, excuse me, rotate as we did? I mean, did they have a rotation or did they stay? Like the LLDB that was with us, how, were they the same ones that were with you when you got there?
I have no clue.
What was
I
the
don't know. I only
captain's
know
name
who I
when
met
you
when
were
I was
there?
there. Yeah.
Howard, his name was Look, L-U-C, when we were there.
Sometimes they bought their way out of it, and bought their way into a different job.
Yeah, they probably paid their way out of it. Yeah.
Stayed in their positions.
And one of the reasons why I was asking is because when you mentioned lieutenant, we had a lieutenant. LLDB was really a good guy. I mean, he was, you know, we could trust him. He was good out on operations. Helped manage the camp, you know, effectively. Unfortunately, you know, lost his life on an ambush that we did later on in '69. But so that's why I was just thinking about.
Well, I hope that was Die We Look.
I can't remember. I can't remember who it was. It was a good guy.
Somehow I had heard that Die We Look got killed.
Well, that's good. That was good news.
Yeah, he was not a good guy.
And his wife too. She needed to go too. She kind of lorded it over that camp. We didn't see it, but she lorded it over all those LLDB.
Little Madam New, huh?
Yeah, same idea.
I got a question for you guys. Do you guys share photos in any central location or anything?
I have a website called specialforcesphotos.com.
Who's saying that?
Steve is.
Steve. Oh, okay. You did.
I have a website called specialforcesphotos.com. I'm having trouble with it right now because I can see the album names, but I sent somebody else there to put a photo up, and for some reason he can't see the album names. You have to go up there and register. That is, use your whole name, you know, Howard X Miller or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I see your name and I will approve you, and then you go back and play around. But I have, you know, every day I get 10 Russian bots that come in there. So anybody whose name is not familiar to me, I throw them out.
Yeah.
So use your name. Don't go Howie 46.
Howie. Any of you guys can call me Howie, but nobody else gets to. Okay. Anyway, there is a Facebook.
And you up there look at it, there are albums for every camp in Vietnam.
Wow.
If you're sufficient, if you finally figure it out, if you go in there and say upload to album, put in the camp number, and it comes up there,
I'll have to check that out.
Upload it. If it doesn't come up there, I got to figure out how that damn program works. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to get together on that because I know I've had at least one of your things. I had problems getting, kept trying it over and over again, and I finally
I
gave up.
posted about 15 or 20 photos that I found that I took. I posted on my Facebook page, but that's hard to get to. I can't even get back to them. It's hard for me to find my own photos on my own Facebook page. But if you want to go to my Facebook page, it's open. I mean, it's open to anybody. Anybody can get there, can see the photos.
What's it called?
Well, just my name, John Roberts, Denton, Texas.
John Roberts.
John Roberts, Denton, Texas. It would be my Facebook ID. And then if you if you find your way into the photos, there's different albums there. I think there's 3 albums in there I labeled Vietnam, but they're sort of phased. One of them is when I was first over there for the first year I was there, and it has some pictures of Duc Hoa, Duc Huê, Traku. And one photo that I was hoping that the medic, his name is, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Booty. You know him, Jack. You talked about him. Buatte, I think is his name.
You're not talking about Hutari, are you?
Well, now I'm mixed up. There was a guy named Leighton too.
Yeah, Leighton was demo. Leighton was a demo guy.
Demo guy.
Yeah.
Who was
Is
the
that
other
Larry
medic?
Layton? Is that Larry Layton?
Larry
Yeah.
Layton.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he was there with me as well.
Yep.
He was demo guy.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a picture of one of the guys. He was a medic at the B team. While I was at the B team, he was there. And then later he went out to Dookway while I was out there. While I was out there, and he, for some reason or other, we had a wounded VC brought in. This guy had a bullet through his chest, and he was. They tried to evacuate him into a hospital, but he couldn't get a chopper to pick him up from the B team. And so out on the helipad, this guy, this medic, I think it was Wate. I'm not sure. I get everybody mixed up here. I'm trying to get it unmixed up now, but that he was trying to seal up that wound and save this guy, but the guy died. Anyway, I took a series of pictures of him treating this guy all the way to the point that he was gone. So it was kind of an interesting thing to see the medic treating somebody that actually died there, right? So what I'm picturing is the guy dying, really. And then
Not a lot of fun.
Got some pictures of cremations going on out on the helipad. All those people that were killed in that ambush at Dookway, their bodies were brought back into Camp Dookway. Some of you may remember that. They were brought back in and lined up there inside the camp. And I wasn't there yet. That happened on the 15th of December. I didn't get there until the 20th, but a lot of shit happened in the meantime with me. All those bodies were brought back by helicopter to Dookway, to the B team. And they were all bleeding and leaking every kind of fluid, broken bones. I mean, they were nasty. They were brought back and put into barracks there. And then over the next few days, they were all cremated out on the helipad. And I've got some pictures of that going on. That was horrible. And then Tom Grix, I had to take Tom Grix's personal belongings into the Graves registration unit. I don't know if you've ever been to a Graves registration unit, but that's not a pleasant place at all. It was I had to go in Long Bend Post and take all of Grix's belongings in there. I had to inventory them. I took them in there and turned them over to the Graves registration people who didn't have anything to do. So they just started inventorying his stuff right there in front of me. That was kind of made me sick, really. Then I had to write a draft letter to Grix's parents, just a draft for the CO to sign. So I had to mock that together. And the night he was brought in, I had to stay up all night with his body after all that whole day of being involved in it, fielding all those calls. Then it was still with me for another 2 or 3 days until finally I arrived at Dookway. And I'm telling you, when I arrived at Dookway, you must have been there, David. You and Jack maybe were already, and George Smith were probably already there. And to me, that place was death. It was in bad shape. Nobody seemed to be able to function very well. Were you, Dale, England? Were you there then? Where were you?
No, I had left 351 in late September, 1st of October of 66.
Oh, you're the old
I was on the original team that never got out of Hiep.
Yeah.
We ran recons over to Dookway and looked at it. And you all were showing that map earlier, showing the old French fort and the talking about you couldn't walk around it. Hell, we walked all over it.
Oh, that little triangular fort?
Huh?
That little triangular thing.
Yeah. And the lake, I don't remember a lake.
There's that little horseshoe shaped lake, and then later there was the two long, like
rectangular.
Two rectangular pools end to end that made it all the way
South end.
down almost to what it became the airstrip.
Yeah, south end of the camp.
Yeah, I'll send you guys some pictures of that.
I got a couple pictures I took from a helicopter looking down on the camp, so you can get
excellent.
They were
Oh.
early before the camp was built very well.
Oh, excellent.
Not that it was
Hey.
ever built, really.
Now there's also, and I don't know I think I was actually part of the, had permission to get into it and so forth, but one of the guys who was at our camp, he was hush hush. He was listening to the Vietnamese on the radio, and I forget which organization he was working for, but anyway,
Okay.
he made a Facebook what do you call it, album, and it's called Dukway A-325, and there's a bunch of stuff on there. I recommend you guys look at that, and that might
What's his
be
name? So we can find his page.
Bob. No, but you don't have to go to his thing first. It's a separate. He made this so that you could access it by that name, and it's called Dukway A-325 or A-325 Dukway, one or the other. And
2125.
A
2125.
A-325.
Yeah, that was the new name for Dukway.
Right. Yeah. All us young punks. See, I knew this hair would come in here somewhat handy somewhere. But anyway, that's good. Let's somehow, get together and figure out where a good central location would be to add to that or whatever. Maybe I could. So Bob Stokes is his name. Robert Stokes, Stokes. And he had a funny story about them parachute dropping in a monkey into the camp that became a pet. Anyway, that was after I left.
Did you by chance know? Oh no, this was after you were afterward. Pete Mayer. Let's see, who was it? Jack, you said you knew Pete Mayer.
Doing very well. Very well.
He was from Boston area, Swampscott, Massachusetts, and he came into country. We flew over there on the same plane. We were in the same OCS company. We were in the 6th group at Fort Bragg, and then we all got on the same orders. We flew on the same plane, and we arrived at Dukway on the same day. And he went out to Dukway, to Hiep the first day he was there. He didn't even spend the night there at the B team, whereas I got stuck in the B team. He went straight out to Hiep, and the way I understand it, he went out on one patrol, and he got heat exhaustion so bad that they just sent him on back to the B team, where he remained for the rest of his days in Vietnam. And he was the logistics guy. Now, is this the guy? Does that sound like the guy you knew?
Yeah, he was the S4 for B-35.
He was the S4.
The CC.
Actually, I think he was technically the assistant S4. They got those titles all bollocks. They had a guy who was a scrounger in Saigon. I don't remember his name. I only saw him once or twice. One sergeant lived in Saigon. His job was to obtain projector bulbs and all the necessities of a B team. He'd get anything that you couldn't get through the supply system. He would obtain it and send it out. And then my Lieutenant Mayer would then distribute it out to the A camps. Y'all remember? Is he the same guy that you're talking about?
He was.
I remember him being, excuse me, at Hiep, but he also was out of Dukway. I don't think he was out there very long.
Not more than an hour.
Yeah, I don't think it was long, but I remember having a conversation with him out there.
He probably did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got a question.
Hiep? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was. I definitely knew him at Hiep. I mean, I can tell a real sad
Stephen
story
tells
about
me
him.
that he died here a couple of years ago.
Yep.
I have a Richard Stokes, who was a lieutenant at 351, but
Robert Stokes was not SF.
Well,
He was like NSA or something like that.
because he should be ASA,
ASA, whatever it was. Yeah.
NSA, but I don't have him in my roster.
Radio Research Company.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
That's what they called him over there.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have him down as participating? He was.
No, the 403rd was supposed to do that job, and I don't have anybody by that name with the 403rd. in the 3 Corps. I've got other people, but they're mostly at the C team and the Mike Force.
Yeah, no, he was,
I'd like to get that link. So I can find out more about it.
and we hardly even knew he was there. He was like, he hid out in his bunker or something. I was like,
Well, that's the way they were, really, except that
Yeah.
most of the 403rd people were pretty good. They were SF trained. They were very smart.
mhm.
And also were very cooperative, taking shifts on radios for the A team because they were very thankful for getting the good food that they got out of the A team. Now, the other people who were around that I probably should have put in there were the people out of B-57. Most of them were operating in 4 Corps, not so many in 3 Corps, but they were running agents into Cambodia. So I don't know how many of them were actually on a 3 Corps team. I didn't check that. My error in not doing that when I set up the list, but they should have been on the list. But no, I'd like to find out about Stokes because nobody else is there.
I'll hook you up with him, but
He was not an officer, right? Your Stokes was not.
no, not to my knowledge. But yeah, we converse every once in a while. Well, anyway, I'll investigate what we can do about that. But you guys ought to check that out. Dukeway A-325 on Facebook. And if you can't get in, let me know. Okay, because I got to figure that out. It's probably on like 2 or 3 computers ago. You know, the computer fries and everything's gone. You know. In fact, that's what happened to me. Why I'm late here, I guess, because the Cox that I had my internet with, they up and shut off my email, and I still had they just shut it off, deleted everything irretrievably. So I got a little bit pissed at him, and I left and went to another company and so forth. But that's why he and I, Steve and I, are having such problems because. He had my old email. Was trying to get a hold of me, and
Hey, Hal?
yeah, Lou.
Yeah, our reunion, wasn't that also Facebook A325 Dukeway or Dukeway?
I think you put some stuff on there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I couldn't remember what the name of they had it for Facebook. I mean, our reunion, because all the pictures from the reunion and.
We're on
all
there
of that.
too. Yeah. I haven't looked at it for a while.
I thought that was under Dukeway A325 or.
I think Bradley did a reunion up in Fort Campbell. And
Well, that's it. Yeah. That's what I'm talking
that was
about.
us.
Yeah, that's us.
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah. Where the hell were you? I'm just talking. I'm just kidding here. But we had, we had a fairly good. There was like 11 of us.
Yeah.
That made it there. It was a really good time.
It was very good.
And Bradley gave a speech, which by the way, is he still around?
He's still around. He show up for this meeting. I called him up and he was involved in something else.
Okay. So I'm just glad to hear he's still around. I haven't heard from him for a while.
Who are you talking about?
The captain,
Bradley Sutter?
No, that's
Bill Bradley. Bill Bradley.
Bill Bradley, yeah.
And who was he?
Sutter's another guy.
He was one of the early captains, the early COs.
Smith is the CO.
Yeah, well, this guy said he was one of the early ones. He may not have been the first.
He was not the first. He was not that early. He followed Smith that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that. But hey, what time did you guys start?
About 3 hours ago.
3 hours and 12 minutes.
Oh, 1 o'clock.
Looked like somebody was trying to get in. Somebody had tried to sign in.
A couple of people tried to sign in. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Hey, do you still have those text messages from Joe Tylis?
No, it didn't come to that. It came some strange from a cell phone to a landline phone with some kind of interactive voice that was reading the message to me. And I never heard of it before, but that's who it was.
Okay, but you said Joe Tyler was on here.
He was on
What-
here earlier, yes.
Yeah, you said he sent some text messages about me.
I got these messages from Lucretia Wheeler, somebody or other, and the phone number was his phone number. So
Huh. I'll email you. We can figure that out. Okay. Yeah.
emails that I have are on the email that went to you for everybody except Howie Miller.
Okay.
So I'll have to
I need that email.
I'll give you that.
Just forward it to me. That's all. It should have everybody's on there.
Give me
I gotta go, guys.
Give me until Friday.
Hey, I gotta ask Dale something real quick, like. Dale, you were at the original Hiep-Wah when it got overrun?
Yes,
Well,
we were there less than a month.
Huh?
We were there less than a month.
With no CIDG.
Yeah.
There were no
Well,
CIDG.
I hear you. Well,
We didn't get any CIDG until after we got overrun. Before that, we were running operations with the RFPF troops.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the reason I ask, okay, just to let you know this, I was at the compound of the Hiep-Wah camp after yours was overrun. Okay, the camp that was on the river, as a big, an old villa that we were at. Anyway, about 2 years ago, I took a trip back there. Okay, and at the site of where the old Hiep-Wah camp was, the Vietnamese have erected a memorial to the VC that were killed there. No Americans were obviously on that memorial, but it was interesting to see and kind of pissed me off. I mean, just to see these people recognized as heroes, and I guess maybe in their eyes they were, but nonetheless, there is a monument there where the old camp was.
Well,
What about the sugar mill? What happened to the sugar mill
while
itself?
I was there? A couple of things that happened while I was there. The guy who managed the Hiep-Wah rum factory got a letter from the colonel of the regiment that overrun the place apologizing for putting him out of business. Because they disabled the rum factory and it wasn't putting out anything. that was funny. And then another thing, being an intel sergeant, when I would go up to the C team at Benoit, I would always swing by the CIDG hospital there to check the casualty lists for 3 Corps to see who's got the most and what kind they are. And we kept, while I was in Hiep-Wah, we kept more people in that CIDG hospital than any camp in 3 Corps, except when the Mike Force would go out and get into a big scuffle. But, and it was all from booby traps. Every time we went out, we got booby trapped. And you couldn't get a kilometer outside the gate and you're starting to take rifle fire.
Now, your camp was not the same location as Jack's camp that Jack was in. It wasn't quite at the sugar mill, right? It was located.
It was at the sugar mill.
It was at the sugar mill. Was it in the same building?
The 2-story building that he just got done talking about.
Oh, so that was the same camp. I had been misled.
The B team was in there, and our A team set up in after the attack, set up in a house right across from the B team, and then the LLDB was in the other end of the house, and then we had the first CIDG company that was sent in there, which was we were told later was the worst company that they could find in 3 Corps to send to us, and they were Vietnamese, and he was a sorry company commander that run that thing. And I've run out of gas.
So that was the camp that was overrun, the same
Yes.
buildings that Jack Blake was in, right?
Yes.
Adjacent to the sugar mill.
Yes.
It was like,
If you
yeah, it
look
was
on the
adjacent.
map, there's a big
Yeah.
canal coming in there.
Yeah.
That's where they would bring barges and stuff in, and they parked their rag boats in there, River Assault Group. They had 3 or 4 rag boats that was there when I was there. And they would park them inside that canal right beside the sugar mill. My team was in a tent across this canal from the sugar mill. And the night of the attack, I was laying on the ground in that tent, bulletproof, looking across that canal. And this VC in full battle dress with a little pith helmet, a big thing going across his chest, comes strolling out of there with his AK. There was a big door in the side of the building there. If you've ever been to the sugar mill, there's a big giant door there. And he came strolling out of there, and I was getting ready to drop him, and he just turned around and walked back through the door. He didn't stay. He just walked out like he was a Sunday walk, looked around, because the B team was not engaging. We were not engaging. So somebody said, I think it was George, what the hell was his name? That was on 352.
Smith. We just had a Smith, George Smith.
No, it was George somebody else.
He's
George Stockton.
Stockton. It was George Stockton that told me that Sergeant Major Sandifer told everybody to hold their fire, only shoot at them if they get up into the wire that goes right around the compound. So they didn't engage and didn't give our positions away, but we were also at high tide that night. That river went up and down with the tides, and the canal right in front of me was filled up, and the canal, there was a smaller canal on the other side of the B team, and that's where they stopped. They stopped at the canal in front of me, and they stopped at the canal in front of the B team.
Well, how did they catch Rohrbach and the other two?
That was a different team.
That was before.
That was back in '63.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm confused about. That's a different attack.
Same.
Yeah,
Nice.
go back to Hiep 1963.
Okay.
Look that up.
Then that was in a different place, a different location. It wasn't in that.
It was
house.
right out in front of the same compound. We had an airfield in front of the compound. See, this was a province headquarters. You had a big compound with our FPF troops in there. The province chief was in there, or province or district. I mix them up now. But they came down into his part of the compound, stuck a recoilless rifle right down into the bunker he was in, and pulled the trigger on him. Like I blew his ass away. And that's all I got.
Who are we missing now? Somebody just
Like that. I want to put in one last commercial before we go. If you guys have not got the Green Beret magazines, it's a set of 5 magazines from 1966 to 1972, 52 issues that the 5th group made. And it's kind of having a yearbook of the SF in Vietnam. So if you don't have it, you should.
One of those issues tells about Dookway, Pink Tower Heights, I believe is what they call it. I have a copy of that.
So
Yeah, Steve, I'm gonna get 68 and 69.
get the whole set. Because in number one, there's an index of everything. So if you have 68, 69, and need to find something, you gotta have 66 to find it. And there's stories that happen. You know, what happened in 1970 in the books of 1970, maybe pictures from 1969. So
Yeah.
you might as well take the whole set.
Hey,
Have you
also,
got a way? Have you got a way to find somebody that was served in the special forces that?
Ooh, ask me.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that, you know, I never knew what happened to them. They went over there. I was a medic for a while. See, so my
In the
friends served
process
in
of
camps.
trying to go through all these camps, but in that process, I going back to my database, and the information I have usually gives me some clue as to where to find people. And if I can't find them myself, I've got some other resources I can go tap. So if I don't have them now, and if I can't find them, I can ask somebody else to find it for me.
Well, you've done a lot of work on this. We have to thank you for your effort.
We really appreciate it, Steve. Thank you so much.
It's a lot of fun.
Together, man.
It keeps me out of trouble.
Hard to believe you amassed so much information.
It's hard to do. Yeah.
It's been a long time, and you know, it's a worthwhile thing, because if we waited for Army historians to do anything, it would never happen. Right.
Deeply appreciated.
Yeah. Glad you finally get your set of books done too.
Now, those are the other set of books. That's the 14-volume series on Vietnam in general. And this
Now, are
one,
you the author of that set of books?
that said, I'm the editor. I probably wrote one article for each issue, each year. But since I'm the editor, I choose what goes in it. And you'll see a lot more stuff on SF than you'll see on other histories of the Vietnam War. But they're really good because, you know, I want to get information out there that's not otherwise readily available. Like I was reading to you from that chapter that I had somebody write on what happened to the SF camps after the SF went back. You know, that was something I always wondered about. I found a Vietnamese who'd studied it, and I got him to write the article. So we tracked each camp down, each border ranger detective down, and found out what their fate was. So that was kind of useful. And okay, that was 73, 72, the year of the rat. The Easter Offensive, Hanlock, Linebacker 1 and 2, the end of Psy War against North Vietnam, Jane Fonda and a friendly North Vietnamese intelligence officer, a critique of work of Christian Appy, and China and Laos. From this is a series on Chinese operations in Laos during that time. So, you know, each one.
Who were you yourself with over there? You were this.
I was with a C detachment in Pleiku. I was sometimes the S5, sometimes the assistant S5. If you know Jim Morris, who wrote the book War Story.
No, don't know him.
Saw me coming off the airplane, and he said, "You're my ticket out of here." He grabbed me and made me the assistant S5. And then he thought he was going to do a great thing. He organized the reopening of Bu Prang, which was a jump. It was a Hollywood jump. Feistheimer wanted to have the last parachute jump in history, which didn't work out that way.
So you were the S5 at the B team at Pleiku?
C team at Pleiku. C team.
C team.
That was my problem, because I was a lieutenant and they wanted at least a captain there, and they kept trying to bump me out. Sometimes they want a captain there to be my boss, and I go back to being the assistant S5, but I have to do all the work. And then they dragged me down to group and I was the S5 plans officer.
Well, you, at least you had some civilians around there to operate on.
S5 job was not merely about our civilians. One of the functions was the CIDG and the morale, and how they responded. You know, sometimes those farms were not there to feed the indigenous; it was there to feed the troops. You know, we shipped. What I did in Pleiku was I kept saying that we'd have people saying, "I raise pigs. I want to raise pigs in Vietnam. Get me some pigs." And what would happen was, by the time they got pigs through the system, these guys would have deer roast, and the guy over there is a city boy. He doesn't know shit about a pig. So what I did, I organized a farm in Pleiku. I don't know shit about pigs either, but I had a good sergeant. We organized a farm. One day I get a call, and they say, "There's an airplane over here for you." I said, "Oh shit, everybody's gone home." And I got the Mike Force, which is across the street, to send me a bunch of people. And we were chasing all kinds of animals all over the airfield for the rest of the night. So that airplane had pigs and goats and chickens and rabbits and all kinds of things. And we weren't quite on the farm. But ultimately, we had a good farm. And people came in, they saw, "Oh, you have pigs. Yeah, I want some pigs. Come on." And we sent them out to them. And then we replace our stock. So that worked.
All you guys, did you get your pictures with Maggie?
Yeah,
I did.
Maggie get around to your camps?
Yeah.
Dale, you didn't say yes.
I
She
didn't,
wasn't
know.
around there then.
I didn't either.
Maybe it was later. Well, what years were you there?
67, 68.
Oh, thought she was pretty active then, but yeah, she'd go around to all the camps, and I even understand she got in a couple of firefights, and she actually used to be a nurse, and so she would help on the nursing things
I
sometimes.
never did understand it. Was she a reserve officer, a nurse officer, or was she just wearing the uniform of
I
one?
think that was honorary. Was that
It was honorary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I couldn't tell.
She would give each of us a St. Christopher medal, and then say, "Come on over here, we'll get your picture." And so we'd be standing there next to her, get it as a Polaroid.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I've got is Polaroid.
Yeah.
So then when it developed, they just handed that to us. I was like, all right, and it was a kick, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just she
You
just
know,
because she's buried at Bragg. Do you know that?
She
No.
was what now?
She's buried at Fort Bragg.
Oh yeah, right there up by the, what do you call that building that we all went to school in there? I can't even remember the name of it.
Training.
Yarborough building, something like that.
50 years ago, I don't know.
The where the Special Forces school was.
Not I hardly remember anything of the layout.
Smoke Bomb Hill doesn't even exist anymore. You can't find it. If you go to Fort Bragg, you can't even tell where the footprint of it was.
You're muted, Steve. You're muted.
They put a highway straight through the Gabriel demonstration area.
Oh, jeez. Hey guys, you were asking, what did we find over there at Batu?
yeah.
And mainly it was just, regular houses and so forth, and then be farmland on, outside of that. But so the big thing besides the engagements, there's a list in the that I got from Steve of all of the weapons that were found there. And so that'll give you an idea of the collective amount of things. They were scattered in all kinds of different locations, but there was like, like their equivalent of the 120s, the rocket launchers.
122.
Say again?
122s.
Yeah,
122.
that size, and all cosmoline and the Chinese in English and Chinese was the, saying from China, basically. And they had these squares or cubes, let's call them cubes. So they weren't exactly even size, but of explosives that I was to learn later. Apparently they would heat up the unexploded bombs, put a hole in them, heat it up, and it would melt out into into this cube that they had, and it looked like wax paper. It was a cube and it's all waxed up, and that was their package of explosives. I remember one hole we blew up was, I guess I didn't really do a good count on how many of those were in there. We got a little bit surprised at all the shit that was coming down on our heads after we read it. I was trained in CIDG how to do it. Actually, one had already done some stuff, and but it was fun. Yeah. It was very satisfying, knowing all this shit wasn't going anywhere else.
Yeah, Hal, I'm going to look forward to that link you're going to put up for those articles that you did on the incursion.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, I think you guys will enjoy it, and all of the issues of the Sentinel are on the Chapter 78 website now, and you don't have to. There's no sign in. You can just get on it.
Okay, what's the address that you said?
Okay, there's a couple different things. What I'm going to send you the Sentinel from the SFA Chapter 78. But the address, if you want to just go to it, is Special Forces, spelled out, and then 78 as in numbers, .com. And if you're looking for the magazines, you can just, I think you have to click on the picture of the magazine or something like that. But you can get into the archives and go all back to like 12 years.
I'm going to stop the recording here.
Okay.